The new book set sail, Douluo. I have to open a store if I don't have the money to love, effortlessly flows into daily life, bringing an extraordinary experience of doutong. Easy flow plus semi-invincible flow plus funny flow plus permanently free book. Enjoy your daily life with ease. Opening random system. Pit father plus poor ghost plus low intelligence plus soft cute girl personality. Chenimo Xiaotian, I think you will become the top scorer on the system gold list, the strongest system in all worlds. System. Buzz. Really? Master. What does it feel like to wake up at the Bibidong bathhouse in the Papal Palace while traveling through time? Chenimo. I have a sword, invincible for thousands of miles. Tang San. Despicable, is that a sword from you? Several flying swords with different shapes hover in the sky. Chenimo, Sinmi, buried in the river of time, lays out a conspiracy that has lasted for thousands of years and subverts the plot. Behind this lies how many unknown secrets are hidden. Daily warmth, passionate excitement, conspiratorial methods, full of excitement. Easy flow route, not following a group, not an ordinary cool article. I have everything you want to watch, as long as you can endure loneliness. The early plot is slow, the middle rises, and the later explodes. Please do not treat it as a repetitive routine with one more person in the original plot, it will bring you a different world of Douluo. Note. The original work is a memory of a generation, but it always feels like there is a lack of passion in the second year. The author hopes to depict a different world of Douluo with a childish writing style. Keywords of the novel. Douluo's opening random system, no pop-up window for landing in the Martial Soul Hall. Douluo's opening random system, download the complete set of Landing in the Martial Soul Hall TXT. Douluo's opening random system, reading the latest chapter of Landing in the Martial Soul Hall. Chapter 1. Begins with a parachute into the Papal Palace, where Bibidong unexpectedly appears. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 1 begins with a parachute into the Papal Palace, where Bibidong unexpectedly appears, buzzing. Chenimo, with sleepy eyes, rolled over and glanced at his phone. An unread text message. Hello dear player, congratulations on getting an opportunity to choose the system to cross the Douluo continent. Please choose. Confirm rejection. Our text message scams playing so big now. Have you all started cross-border business? Chenimo stared at the screen with a bewildered expression and casually clicked OK. I thought a website address would appear as usual, and then click on a game link. Suddenly, a white halo appeared, and the whole person disappeared from the bed in an instant. The next moment, they arrived at the vast and boundless starry sky. Omegas. A red star emitting scorching flames, a blue planet with alternating land and ocean, and an endless expanse of starry sky. Please select the system binding for the host, as they will soon cross to the Douluo continent plane. A golden list appeared out of thin air, with two columns on the left and right, respectively recording the two system genres of Zhutian and Wanjia. There are also divine level systems, supernatural systems, lottery systems, check.in systems, and so on. It's dazzling. It looks very impressive. Which one is better to choose? Detected host selection difficulties, will consider the host for immediate selection. Don't. Before finishing speaking, the system's gold list began to roll. Isn't it? I hesitated for a moment and lost my autonomy of choice. He, who is not a chieftain, has never been in a drink before. Another bottle. The system is randomly completed. Please bring the system to Douluo continent as soon as possible to complete the task. The system gold list has disappeared. Hello host, I am your binding system. Xiaotian. First time meeting, please take care of me. A metal ball fluttered in front of Chenimo, and the synthesized electronic female voice greeted sweetly. Excuse me, Xiaotian, what system are you? Buzz, oh my. Master, they are Xiaotian, not Buzz Xiaotian. Hiss, Chen Mo shook the ground with goosebumps. Xiaotian, speak well. Don't act like green tea. Buzz, Master, these are all personality programs set based on your inner self. Pooh, slander, definitely slander. Forget it, let's talk about what you can do first. Buzz, Master, we need to cross over as soon as possible. Let's go quickly. A burst of white light flashed by, and Chen Mo disappeared into the universe. Douluo continent. Cloudless for thousands of miles, a black eagle soars freely in the sky. With a flash of white light, Chen Mo crossed to the level of Douluo continent. Douluo continent has minimal ecological damage, abundant green plants, and fresh air. Chen Mo's bird's eye view of the mainland beneath his feet, full of greenery and beautiful mountains and waters, couldn't help but admire. At this moment, a beautiful eagle flew by and its eyes looked curiously at Chen Mo. Brother, what species is it? Can you still go ashen without a second bladder? What is this dark and unremarkable thing? Chen Mo tilted his head and looked carefully. Oh, it's an eagle. An eagle. Step down with your foot. Empty. It doesn't feel like being down to earth. Chen Mo cautiously glanced down. At an altitude of thousands of miles, with a clear view of land, mountains, and the ocean. So. I was actually in the air when I crossed over. Chen Mo, who seemed to have just realized, shouted loudly, Xiao Tian. Ah, Lu, La. Perform a falling motion with gravitational acceleration, accompanied by howling winds and deformed faces. Master, there was an accident while traveling. Please choose your place of birth as soon as possible. 1. Holy Soul Village 2. Martial Soul Hall 3. Tiando City 4. Star Luo Empire. Like a shooting star crossing the sky, Chen Mo's falling speed accelerated even faster. I choose Lu. Martial Soul Hall. Ka. Suddenly, a white aperture appeared in the falling path. Chen Mo was deeply moved and said, can you stop playing with flowers next time? Wearing it scares me to death, it's too exciting. Chen Mo's body stretched out and successfully threw himself into a white aperture with a 3-point mark. Ha! Gulyalu, Chen Mogong was about to take a breath but choked on water. When he opened his eyes, he saw that there was water all around him. Chen Mo, who couldn't swim, panicked and struggled upwards. In panic, he touched a ribbon with his hand and pulled it hard, causing his body to float upwards. Finally floating to the surface of the water, I saw a woman with frosty eyebrows and eyes, and a murderous intent leaning against the edge of the pool. Chen Mo was stunned. Bibidong. The brain instantly went blank. God-damn system, whose birthplace is chosen in Bibidong's bathtub. Hey! Who are you? Bibidong stood at the corner of the bathtub, coldly watching the child inexplicably appearing in the bathtub. Strange, with my strength, I can't see through how he appeared. Bibidong light gauze covers the body, be vigilant and on guard. Ah! Without time to carefully examine the subtle curves under the light veil, my mind spun wildly. What to do? Must be killed, right? Online waiting, quite urgent. Poop. Suddenly, Chen Mo spewed out a mouthful of blood, staining a large pool of water red. My body fell into the pool, unconscious. Bibidong frowned and felt his soul power gently as he detached. Unexpectedly, he is really unconscious and his body is severely injured. Is there another hidden situation? Soul power surged, and Chen Mo was suspended in the air and sent to the edge of the pool. Bibidong stood up, his slender and plump figure clearly visible, steam dry from the water stains, put on his robe, and walked out. Outside the hall. Go take the children inside to the room and take care of them personally. No. Two maids walked into the palace and escorted Chen Mo, who was in a false coma, to another side hall. Golden silk quilt, lying on the bed, two maids holding a towel stand by the bed. Xiaoxi, you. Help him untie. Untie his clothes. Xiaoxi blushed and said softly. Pooh, why don't you go? Xiaoxi spoke and reached forward to untie Chen Mo's clothes, revealing the body of a boy. Hold it back, I must hold it back. I am currently seriously injured and unconscious. If I reveal anything, my life will be in danger. Chen Mo hypnotizes himself, biting his teeth and closing his eyes. Oh my, dare to say me, hit you. Hello, don't you treat me like a person. Chen Mo is speechless. Although his body is only 6 years old, he is at least a man. Right. Xiao Tian. Come out, young master. It's like a pit-father system, crossing over thousands of miles in the sky, not to mention being born in someone else's bathtub. What the hell? Buzz. Master, you have wronged me. Don't pretend to be pitiful. If it weren't for my quick reaction, pretending to be seriously injured and unconscious, I wouldn't have been completely scared by now. Buzz. Everything is said according to the owner's deepest and most profound thoughts. Nonsense, I didn't choose the birthplace of the martial soul hall for Bibidong. With a resolute face, Buzz. Little Tian Ming Bai De. You understand a hammer. After wiping their bodies, two maids walked outside the door to guard, leaving only Chen Mo in the room. Forget it, I won't argue with you. Let's first talk about your role and functions as a system. Buzz. Buzz, Buzz. Buzz. Are you a mosquito? Buzz, you big-headed ghost, speak up. Buzz. Master, Xiaotian. Xiaotian is just a beginner and belongs to the lowest level system of spicy seeds, so. Vegetable chicken paired with salted fish, brave enough to venture into a different world. Okay, let's discuss your role together. How many places do you rank on the system gold list? Buzz. Shy face, Xiaotian doesn't have the qualification to make it on the list yet. Sure enough. I'm a non-chieftain, right? What is your basic setting? Buzz. Reward for completing tasks. Upgrade and evolve through feedback. It's okay, it's not too useless. Okay, let's start publishing tasks now. I can't say that old Chen can even make you evolve into the strongest system in the heavens and all worlds. Buzz. Really, master? Xiao Tian excitedly revealed the physical form of a metal ball. Chen Mo lay on the bed, lightly tapping his fingers on the ball. That's right. You're my Chen Mo's system. If you want to do it, you have to do the most advanced system. How can you make me install X if you're not awesome? Go ahead and upgrade. Chen Mo smiled slightly and said, let's start issuing tasks. Buzz. Master, find the mission. Main chapter. Martial Soul City. Main task. Martial Soul Awakening. Please awaken your martial soul within the specified time, complete the task to receive random rewards, and accept punishment if the task fails. Task rewards. Randomly select 1. Martial Soul Special Buff *1. 2. Newcomer Special Gift Package *1. 3. Character Experience Card *3 Task Punishment. 3 Must accept, 1. The quality of martial soul has decreased by 1 level. 2. System Intimacy .33. Unknown Penalty, Secret, Chen Mo raised his eyebrows and awakened his martial soul. That's not a matter of minutes. Immediately, his brow furrowed. Xiao Tian, is there still a beginner's gift package that hasn't been distributed? Without the system beginner gift package, I awaken the martial soul of a hammer. Buzz. Master, your permissions are too low and your level is not enough. Wooden novice gift pack, guilty face. Oh my goodness, do you think it's like this? Even if I make you limp, you still have to give me the entire gift package. I appeared in the bathtub of Pope Bibidong in the Martial Soul Hall. Does it count as triggering and completing the hidden mission? Buzz. Hey. It seems like it is. Suddenly realizing his face, also, Bibidong is a top powerhouse in the Douluo continent. As a traverser, your master and I can survive intact. Shouldn't we receive more rewards? Buzz. That's right, 9494. Since that's the case, let's award rewards, preferably related to the martial soul. Buzz. Good master. Hidden task. Survive intact and flawless. Task reward. Randomly select a martial soul *1. Fortunately, the system is still small. It can be fooled. Some weapons were coiled around Chenemo, clearly rewards prepared by the system. Just. Why are Mao all cold weapons like hammers, axes, guns, etc.? They are all ordinary creatures without any signs. Xiao Tian, could you explain it? Buzz. Master, you know Xiaotian's level permission is too low, so. Just give me this trash. Forget it, who let me not be the chieftain who drew you. Start drawing immediately. Chen Mo's tone was slightly helpless, as the cold weapons surrounding him spun rapidly. Random selection completed, please awaken your martial soul as soon as possible, master. A stream of light instantly blends into the body, while others transform into virtual shadows and dissipate. I have a martial soul, but I don't know what it is anymore. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Awakened, but not fully awakened. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Awakened, but not fully awakened. Early morning. Chen Mo, led by two maids, went to the side hall of Pope Bibidong. On the way. Two sisters, is there anything on my face? Chen Mo smiled and couldn't help but ask. The two maids kept looking back at him all the way, and then quickly turned around to discuss. Do you really think I'm a little kid? What kind of ghost is Bibidong having illegitimate children? Hey. Ah, hee, there's nothing left, Xiaozi smiled. We're just curious about the relationship between His Majesty the Pope and you. Xiaozi whispered, taking a glance at Chen Mo. No need to guess, I'm the Pope's face. Chen Mo dropped a sentence and walked away quickly. The bathtub palace that I accidentally stumbled upon yesterday is right ahead. Xiaozi and Xiaozi looked at each other. What is facial recognition? I don't know either. The two maids came forward to report and stayed outside the door, while Chen Mo entered alone. Familiar layout. And a bathtub. Passing through the old place, Chen Mo couldn't help but glance at it, and a stunning scene from last night came to his mind. My body trembled involuntarily. Stimulation, see the Pope. Dare, why don't you kneel when you see the Pope? A female guard next to her shouted angrily, and the soul power of the Soul Emperor level suddenly struck. Step back. Bibidong, sitting in a high position, snorted coldly. The female guard dared not cause trouble, put down her pressure, and stood on the side. Tell me your identity and background, I'll spare you from dying. A chill rushed over my face. Chen Mo couldn't help but tremble and let out a breath. To the Pope, my name is Chen Mo. I accidentally ran into the bathtub last night, but in fact. Cough, you go down first. No. The female guard responded and left, then fiercely gouged out Chen Mo's eyes before leaving. What are you looking at? I haven't seen such a beautiful child before. Chen Mo made a funny face. Stinky kid, it's better not to be caught alone by me, otherwise you'll be the one to look good at, humph. Angry Xiaoya stomped her feet and left unwillingly. Don't tell anyone about last night's incident. Bibidong's eyes flickered with coldness. As the Pope, I was able to make others look at me, causing a huge uproar when rumors spread. Even a 6-year-old child can't do it. Okay. Last night's incident was not my wish. Buzz. Master Dalai's, shy face. Xiao Tian chuckled in his heart. Yeah, shut up. I'm too lazy to argue with you. Don't interfere with adults or children. I came across a white aperture while playing outside, and curiously stepped into it, spinning around in circles. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the pool. I apologize for disturbing the Pope's bath. Bibidong was speechless. Didn't we say we can't bring it up again? You said, I see, I will have someone take you back. Please step down. Hey. Is Bibidong so easy to deceive? Easy to talk about? This time, Chenemo was fooled. Report to the Pope, that aperture is very strange, I can't remember the original place. After finally starting the Martial Soul Hall, how could it still run to a remote and impoverished area? Since that's the case, you can stay in the Martial Soul Hall. Take the token and go find Elder Ju to awaken your martial soul, then come find me again. Bibidong said coldly. Chenemo took the token and saw that it was adorned with a large sword, a pair of wings, a hammer, and a pagoda. Lying down, Elder's order. Naturally, there's no need to return it to me. Oka. Chenemo responded and left the palace, seeing two close maids. Xiaozi, take me to find Chrysanthemum. Elder Chrysanthemum. The two maids responded and left with Chenemo. Inside the hall, Bibidong closed his eyes and pondered. The mist shrouded in Chenmo's body made her curious, but there was some force in the dark that was interfering with her observation. As long as you stay in the Martial Soul Hall, you won't believe it or see it. Bibidong let out a soft snort, feeling a slight ripple in her mood as she was not in control. Chenemo appreciated the beautiful scenery all the way and praised the grandeur of the palace. I couldn't help but say, it's really big. I heard the two maids feel extremely shy. Oh, what are children talking nonsense about? Chenemo looked at the inexplicably blushing stream and Xiao Zi in confusion. I'm talking about the Martial Soul Hall. Hey. The stream hesitated slightly and then ran away with a red face. Hee, you are indeed a child. Xiao Zi smiled happily. I'm not young, you know. Chenemo pouted, too lazy to talk to the two of them who were overflowing with love. Suddenly, a handsome man in white with a golden border pattern appeared in front of the hall. Report to Elder Chrysanthemum, the Pope has instructed the two of us to bring him to find Elder Chrysanthemum and awaken our martial soul. Xiaozi and Xiaozi bowed and said. Chenemo took a step forward and clenched his fists, saying, Chrysanthemum. Elder Chrysanthemum, it's the kid who awakened my martial soul. Thank you. The handsome man, Juaguan, had a strange look in his eyes and nodded, come with me. Two maids were guarding the door, and Chenemo walked in with Juhua Pass. In front of a formation. Go in, feel the changes in your body with your heart, don't be too nervous, let nature take its course. Chrysanthemum Pass smiled and said. He heard the Pope say that Chenemo appeared out of thin air outside the papal hall, completely devoid of any energy fluctuations, and was very eerie. Seeing that his martial soul has not yet awakened, it is speculated that he has a strange power in his body. Leaving Chenemo in the Martial Soul Hall is also an explanation from Bibidong to him. The formation lit up, and the soul power of the Chrysanthemum Pass was input. An inexplicable wave of power surged from Chenmo's body. Xiao Tian. How should I awaken my martial soul? Chenemo believes that when a powerful martial soul descends, it must have a powerful posture, be handsome, and move quickly. However, the system Xiao Tian did not respond to him. A warm stream flows by. An unknown force within the body is stirring up. Gather on your right hand, suddenly explode. Finally, a pure black rectangular box appeared. Chrysanthemum closed her eyes slightly, staring at the black box repeatedly. Congratulations, what awakens is the spirit of weapons and martial arts. Ordinary and unremarkable black box. Chen Mo's mind is blank. What kind of martial soul does the system of Kangda give? Buzz. Congratulations to the master for awakening his martial soul. He has completed the martial soul awakening task and is about to award rewards. Please start the lottery. Smoke your sister, who are you fooling? Is the black box a martial soul? Do I use it to smash people? Next, let's test your soul power. Chrysanthemum Guan gave a faint smile, perhaps the Pope had taken a wrong look. This child's awakened martial soul was too ordinary. Chen Mo rolled his eyes and bravely touched the test crystal. Can such a spicy chicken's martial soul have innate soul power? With both hands in contact, a strong wave of soul power erupted in an instant, and the test crystal burst directly. This innate soul power, not just. Chrysanthemum Guan's indifferent gaze changed, and her body instantly tensed. Children with innate soul power have never appeared before, and each one is a genius without a trace. According to incomplete statistics, it is only possible to have innate full soul power if there are twin martial souls or top-level martial souls. With his vision, he almost looked away. Chen Mo was also stunned and summoned the black box to observe carefully. On a pure black rectangular black box, the front depicts mountains, rivers, birds, and animals, while the back depicts vast starry skies and brilliant rivers. It's just black and dark all over, not easy to detect. And most importantly, does the black box seem to be able to open? Child, the martial soul awakening ceremony is over. You can go back now. Remember, don't leave the martial soul hall. Chrysanthemum Pass said with a serious expression, saying that even the martial soul hall is scarce for such a genius, and he must keep it. After speaking, he hurriedly left to meet the Pope. Chen Mo arrived outside the palace. Let's go, sisters. Let's go home. Pooh, bad embryo, who will go home with you? Xiaoxi said coquettishly. Hee, sister, I think you really want to go with him, right? Xiao Zi joked. Why are you too different from the maid I imagined you to be? Chen Mo pressed a question mark against his forehead. How many years have you been working in the Martial Soul Hall? I entered the Martial Soul Hall when I was 8 years old, and Xiaozi was 1 year later than me. It's been about 5 or 6 years now. The stream exudes a hint of nostalgia. Is the treatment at the Martial Soul Hall very good? Why do you feel so happy? With Chen Mo's words, the scene quieted down. Although the Martial Soul Hall only admits soul masters, it is still quite good for ordinary people. Both Xiaozi and I are homeless. We have been living in the Martial Soul Hall for 5 or 6 years since we were young, and we have long regarded it as our own home. At this moment it was Chen Mo's turn to remain silent. Is the Martial Soul Hall really an evil force among ordinary people? Is Tang San's behavior truly a just act? The Martial Soul Hall is destroyed, evil soul masters are rampant, and the common people on the mainland are suffering from chaos, with unstable times and a life beyond their control. Can I accept such an ending? Two sisters, if one day the Martial Soul Hall is destroyed, where will you go? Xiaoxi and Xiaozi were clearly stunned. I never thought about. Will the Martial Soul Hall be destroyed? Perhaps in their hearts, the powerful Martial Soul Hall, as strong as the sun in the sky, could never be destroyed no matter what. Don't worry, sisters. I just casually said, how could the Martial Soul Hall be so powerful that it could be destroyed? Chen Mo enlivened the atmosphere, holding the hands of the two and returning to the room. The two women stood guard at the door, and no matter how funny Chen Mo was, he refused to go in. Inside the house. Xiao Tian, let's start the lottery. The martial soul awakening mission is completed, and the reward is randomly selected from 3. Buzz. The lottery starts, ding, the lottery ends. Buzz. Congratulations, Master. You have received, Martial Soul Special Gain, *1. Do you want to activate it? Open. Non-chieftains have given up their expectations, they just want to lie flat. Martial Soul Special Gain, 6 golden characters transform into flowing light and blend into the body. Waiting. For a long time. So. Has it really increased loneliness? Chen Mo's mouth twitched and he couldn't believe the system of the Pit Father. Poor ghosts are even more despicable than non-chieftains. Xiao Tian. Buzz. Master, Xiao Tian doesn't know either. The level is low and the permissions are low. Master, please understand. Yunnan Chieftain Constitution plus Poor Ghost System. The journey of Douluo is destined to be extraordinary. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Chrysanthemum Pass, I suspect you are filling a cup, and I have proof. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3 Chrysanthemum Pass, I suspect you are filling a cup, and I have evidence the Papal Palace. The Moon Gate, dressed in white clothes with golden border patterns, silently waits. Bibidong's eyes closed slightly, emitting a hint of brilliance. Elder Chrysanthemum, could you please come and accompany that child to hunt for soul rings? Obey me. Chen Mo's appearance out of thin air and innate soul power talent are enough to attract Bibidong's attention. Yu Guan left the Papal Palace and headed towards the side hall. Chen Mo summoned his martial soul and attempted to open the black box. But no matter how much it was tossed and turned, the black box seemed to be sealed, with no movement at all. Xiao Tian. Come out quickly. Inside, Chen Mo softly called out to the system. Buzz. Master, what's going on? Oh, Northeast old girl. Where are you playing with cosplay? Buzz. Master, hee, curious, purely curious. You. With one hand on my forehead, why is my system so weird? What exactly is this black box? Chen Mo weighed his martial soul. Buzz. Master, the awakened martial souls you have are randomly selected. If you are not satisfied, you will not return or exchange them. Bad merchants. Buzz. Hee, Master, your awakened martial soul can be considered the best thing in my warehouse. His Chen Mo suddenly remembered the cold weapons in that circle, rusty and rustic, making the black box look a bit quaint. So. What exactly is this? Buzz. Master, the black box you're talking about is actually a sword box. But we're not sure what swords are among them. Sword box. Suddenly, a scene of a flying sword appeared in Chen Mo's mind. Do you mean? To realize his sword fairy dream in Douluo. Hey. Hee. Buzz. Master, saliva is flowing out. Suck. Chen Mo quickly restrained his posture. Why can't it be opened? Staring at the suspended martial soul sword box in his hand, a spiritual light suddenly flashed in Chen Mo's mind. May I need a soul ring? The soul master cultivation system is closely related to the martial soul and soul ring. After this thought, I increasingly felt that the opening of the sword box cannot be separated from the soul ring. Chen Mo now awakens his innate soul power, which can accommodate the first soul ring. At present, it seems that only by obtaining the first soul ring can the conjecture be verified. Buzz. Master, trigger the hidden mission. Obtain the first soul ring and its lifespan exceeds the limit. Success leads to rewards, failure leads to punishment. The same goes for rewards and punishments. Chen Mo looked at the metal ball dancing in the air with satisfaction. Not bad, the silly system has finally started to grow and will now release hidden tasks. Note. Restrictions. Host must personally kill, otherwise the mission will be considered a failure. Wang Defa. Chen Mo's direct black question mark face. Xiao Tian. I feel like you're playing with me. Buzz. Master, basic logical requirements, you can't blame me anymore. Dot. So. What's the use of me asking you? See Elder Chrysanthemum. Outside the door, the sound of a small purple stream rang out. You guys should leave first. Yes. Chrysanthemum Pass. What is he looking for me for? Chen Mo walked out of the room with a question, and a handsome man in white with a golden border pattern waited beside him. Elder Ju, what can I do for you to find the young man? Yu Guan nodded slightly. Although young, he has an extraordinary demeanor, neither humble nor arrogant. He is a material that can be made. You have awakened your innate soul power, and this time you have come to follow the Pope's orders to take you to the soul hunting forest to hunt for soul rings. Someone just gave me a pillow when I was about to sleep. Chen Mo smiled slightly and said, could you please take Elder Ju on a trip with me? It's okay, set off immediately. Okay. Speaking to Xiaozi, Chen Mo left the Martial Soul Hall with the Moon Pass and headed to the soul hunting forest. A titled Douluo accompanies the hunting of soul rings, but the main character team doesn't receive such treatment, right? Chen Mo was faintly excited in his heart, so the danger of hunting soul beasts was minimized. Along the way, he searched and, relying on the theory of the original work in his memory, prepared to hunt and kill fierce beast-like soul beasts. The martial soul sword box must contain a sword, and the soul ring with increased attack power must be like a tiger adding wings and unstoppable power. It seems you're lucky. Stop at the moon gate and look towards a place. Dot. The wind blows and the leaves move slightly, while the flowers fall and the wild grass quietly smells fragrant. That place is empty and hasn't moved for a long time. Chen Mo looked at Chrysanthemum Pass in confusion. I suspected you were filling a cup, and I have evidence. About 500 years, it's a bit difficult for you. Yu Guan gave a faint smile and stared at one place. Chen Mo widened his eyes, stunned as he didn't see the presence of soul beasts. Chrysanthemum. This soul beast is called the illusionary lizard and has the ability to control color changes. Wandering among flowers, plants, and trees, waiting for an opportunity to move and hunt prey. Based on your requirements, it is currently more in line. The colorful lizard. Chen Mo carefully observed, but still couldn't find any trace. Why haven't you heard of this thing so amazing? Elder Chrysanthemum, you can't even see how to hunt. Since the Chrysanthemum Pass can recognize it, it must have been encountered before. This soul beast is exceptionally cunning, with a mysterious ability to change colors and outstanding escapability. Most soul emperors and soul saints may not be able to discover it. Upon hearing this, Chen Mofang finally understood the terrifying stealth ability of the colorful lizard. You should know that the colorful lizard in front of you has only been around for 500 years, and you can't even discover the soul saint. How terrifying is it? Just. I want to add a soul ring that enhances the attack, isn't the phantom lizard suitable? I knew your kid would think that way. Yu Guan chuckled softly and shook her head slightly. Although the colorful lizard is good at changing colors, its deadly blow cannot even be stopped by the famous defensive turtle, the Xuanjie turtle. Hide your body, one strike will kill you. This is the way for the colorful lizard to survive, it must be extraordinary. Since Elder Chrysanthemum said so, then I'll choose it. Chen Mo's eyes lit up, and the ultimate powerful attack was exactly what he wanted, wasn't it? Okay. Chrysanthemum Guan nodded, picked up a petal in her hand, and gently flicked it. Like a sharp blade unsheathed, shooting straight towards the ground. Boom. The soil is flipping and the flowers and plants are scattered. A nearly transparent lizard-like soul beast appeared in the pit, the size of a square table. Chen Mo understood that the transparency seen by his eyes was actually caused by the illusionary lizard integrating itself into the environmental color, resulting in visual disappearance. The illusionary lizard, who had lost its protective color, suddenly launched its strongest strike, targeting Chen Mo. However, if the title Douluo Chrysanthemum Pass is placed on one side, how could it allow a mere century-old soul beast to be unrestrained? Before the attack, the colorful lizard was on the brink of death and unable to move. Go, give the last blow and obtain the soul ring. Thank you very much, Elder Jew. You don't need to be polite. Chen Mo casually took a small knife and walked up to it, inserting it into the throat of the colorful lizard. A yellow soul ring rises. At present, 2/3 of the hidden tasks have been completed, and you can personally kill them. If the lifespan exceeds the limit, it is almost perfect absorption. The absorption of soul rings beyond the theoretical limit, Chen Mo also felt a bit uneasy. Leading ring, absorbing ring, breaking ring, melting ring. The first soul ring gradually stabilized, and the absorption of the soul ring unexpectedly became unobstructed. Could it be that my physical strength has completely exceeded the theoretical limit? Chen Mo was so overwhelmed that he was ready to accept the immense pain brought by absorbing soul rings, but there was no response at all. Yueguan, standing on the side to protect the Dharma, frowned lightly. This kid's first soul ring has been absorbed for about 500 years, yet surprisingly unscathed. Moreover, the absorption speed is so fast. How do you feel? Chen Mo stretched his body as if possessing infinite energy. Very good, very comfortable, I feel great. The mysterious black sword box appeared, and Chen Mo's mind moved. The yellow soul ring wrapped around it, and the sword box instantly shone brightly, transforming into a pillar of light that stretched for thousands of miles. Buzz. Martial Soul Special Gain, *1 has been successfully activated, and the Martial Soul special effect is enhanced 10 times. Chen Mo looked bewildered and shocked, looking at the towering beam of light. So, the special enhancement of Martial Soul actually enhances the special effects of Martial Soul. Is this so imposing, really the first soul ring? Chrysanthemum Pass touches the pillar of light, feeling its pressure, and the sky's radiance turns into a white shockwave, comparable to the scene of a 100,000-year soul ring. The Xian Black Sword Box features mountains and rivers on the front, sun, moon, and stars on the back. The small gap in the middle gradually widens and splits in half. A dark shadow shuttled through the beam of light, instantly shooting out and lying in Chen Mo's palm. The pillar of light suddenly dissipated, and the white light in the sky immediately dissipated. Juyue looked curiously, but suddenly her smile froze and she stood still. Chen Mo was stunned, looking at the handle lying in the palm of his hand, with a bewildered expression on his face. That's right, the Grand Xian Black Sword Box actually spit out a sword handle. Xiao Tian, you're playing with me again. Chen Mo couldn't help but roar wildly in his heart. He knew you were poor, but please don't be fooled. Hey! Sword handle. Kid, close your eyes and feel it carefully, don't worry. Yu Guan's eyebrows furrowed slightly. There must be something strange about such a strange situation. I have never heard that a martial soul would be a sword hilt. Upon hearing these words, Chen Mo calmly felt them. Consciousness seems to have come into a space, where the scorching sun hangs high during the day and the starry river shines brightly at night. However, as the day and night alternate, a faint sword shadow appears. Exquisite and elegant sword. Qingying shadows are invisible. Chen Mo's eyes opened, and an invisible sword energy shot out, leaving a hollow in the distant tree trunk. The sword named Qingying, I didn't expect it to be an ancient famous sword. Chen Mo held the hilt of the sword inside, wondering how many swords were in the sword box. How about it? Kid, did you perceive anything? Yueguan walked up to her and asked softly. Elder Chrysanthemum, this is a sword, named Qingying. It's inconvenient to say more about other things, please forgive me. Good kid, it's good to know how to hide a hand. Since that's the case, let's go back. Chen Mo did not intend to reveal the secret of Qingying to anyone, and Yueguan clearly understood and did not inquire further. The journey of hunting the first soul ring has officially ended. The reward for completing hidden tasks is also drawn at the moment and the soul ring is absorbed. Chen Mo didn't expect it either, as there were no surprises for non-chieftains. Successfully obtained, Martial Soul Special Gain, *1, immediately activated, and the special effect enhancement is directly squared. The Xuanhe Sword Box's Martial Soul special effect is enhanced by 100 times, and it is precisely because of this that the light pillar is completely connected to the sky, and the white light extends for thousands of miles. Martial Soul City, Martial Soul Hall. Yuguan went to the Pope's palace to report, while Chenmo returned to the side hall. I'm not sure if the two sisters missed me after going out for 3 days this time. Buzz. Master, Xiaotian misses you. Chen Mo's smile disappeared and he stiffened his face, saying, you better think more about how to make something good for your master and me. Do you want to? You want a hammer, you want something useless. Chen Mo is speechless. As a system, do you need to say so much? Hello. Buzz. Master, Xiaotian has absorbed a lot of energy from his master. If he posts another mission, he can be promoted. Hey. It can still be upgraded. Not bad, not bad. After upgrading, perhaps the rewards can also be more abundant, right? Do you see if there are any trees or tasks? Buzz. Wooden. Issuing tasks requires approval from the lowest level basic logic settings. Xiaotian doesn't have the authority to actively publish them. Okay. Chenimo gave up and went to the side hall door, putting on a smile again, ready to tease Xiao Shi and Xiao Zi. End of this chapter. Chapter 4, 100** Martial Soul Special Effect is activated. Why did you tell me it's a soul? You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chapter 4, 100** Martial Soul Special Effect is activated. Did you tell me that you are a soul master? Two sisters, I'm back. Chenemo greeted him and walked in before anyone could see him. Usually, when he is not around, Xiaoxi and Xiaozi will enter the room to tidy up. I did see a figure cleaning the room. Seeing that Xiaozi didn't seem to hear anything, Chenemo tiptoed closer and covered his eyes. Cough cough, guess who I am? A rough and funny voice sounded behind her, causing Xiaozi to scream in fear and quickly turn around. Chenemo chuckled and took a step back. Ah, it's you. Xiaozi sighed and patted her chest. What's going on? I haven't noticed it for a long time when I came in, Chenemo smiled. Both maidservants are only in their prime, pure and lovely, exuding a youthful aura that makes them unconsciously close. Just now. I was thinking about something, Xiaozi explained and continued, then I'll go out first. As he spoke, he was about to leave. However, after finally coming in, Chenemo couldn't bear to give up the opportunity to chat and relax. Hey. Don't worry. By the way, where's Sister Xiaoxi? Why don't you see her there? Chenemo scanned the room, cleaned it up, and Xiao Zi was wiping the table, while Xiao Shi was nowhere to be seen. The two of them are usually inseparable and follow Bibidong's orders to take care of him personally. It is impossible for them not to be in the room. Xiao Zi's eyes flickered and she stuttered, Xiao. Xiaoxi is not feeling well, she's resting. Chenemo suddenly took a step forward, got close to Xiao Zi's face, and looked carefully and seriously. Sister Xiaozi, your eyes are red. Did you secretly cry just now? Ah, Xiao Zi clearly felt a little flustered and waved her hands. No, it's just a bit tired. Oh, that's it. Chenemo smiled and said, then I'll take Sister Xiaozi back to rest. No need, I can go back by myself. How about that? You and Sister Xiaozi were personally assigned by the Pope to take care of me. If something happens, wouldn't I have to take care of it myself in the future? Don't refuse, let's go. I happen to go recognize the way too. I'll come play with you next time. Despite Xiao Zi's refusal, Chenemo forcefully held hands and walked out of the palace door. Something must have happened, otherwise the two would have been so evasive, Chenemo thought to himself. Buzz. Master, trigger a random task. Maid's grievance. Clarify the cause of the situation within the specified time and solve it perfectly. Success will earn rewards, system intimacy +1, step by step, so. What's the use of my intimacy with you? Can you give me a big baby? The Martial Soul Hall absorbs soul masters from all over the continent, and each organization is responsible for soul masters. Usually, ordinary people are also recruited to be responsible for the daily life of soul masters. When Xiaozi and Xiaozi were 8 years old, they entered the Martial Soul Hall. Zhou Zhuan stayed for 7 or 8 years, and there were also over 1,000 ordinary maids. Chenemo pulled Xiaozi along the way and met many ordinary people without any soul power fluctuations, all the way to a courtyard. I'm here, you go back quickly. Xiaozi stood in front of the door, refusing to let Chenemo in. Sister Xiaozi, although you and Sister Xiaozi are the personal maids arranged by the Pope for me, I have always regarded them as relatives. If Sister Xiaozi recognizes my younger brother, let me go in and take a look. Chenmo's expression was serious and serious. What is said is also heartfelt, without any deception. Rushing through a different world, my mood eventually feels a bit lost. It was the innocence and cuteness of the two women that made him sweep away his frustration. How could he ignore them now? Xiaozi hesitated and looked conflicted. Sister said she can't tell you, otherwise it will add trouble to you. And besides, we're just maids, no one cares. Speaking of which, my eyes were moist and slightly flushed. The two sisters are not maids in my heart. Chenemo smiled, wiped away the tears from the corners of Little Purple's eyes, and walked in. Although the room is simple, it is clean and full of girlish vibe. Xiaozi sat in front of the mirror, lost in thought. When he heard the commotion, he turned his head and saw Chenemo coming in. He quickly turned back. Chenemo approached step by step and said in a low voice, Sister Xiaozi, what's wrong with your face? Xiaozi covered his right face with his hand and forced a smile, saying, It's okay, I just accidentally bumped into it. Where did you hit it? I'll go chop off the corner of the table. Ah. No, it's okay. Xiaozi, take the guests back quickly. Oh. Chenemo suddenly took a step forward and pulled away the hand that Little Creek was holding on his right face. Where did you knock it? Can you knock out a fingerprint? Xiaozi panicked and turned around, afraid to take another look. Chenmo's eyes sank slightly and he walked out without saying a word. I inquired around and walked straight towards a certain place. Xiaozi and Xiaozi panicked for a moment, feeling at a loss. They followed behind Chenemo to dissuade him, but to no avail. Passing through corridors and towers, bypassing palace courtyards. In front of a remote and luxurious gate, Chenemo stood still. Wujiang old dog, come out for me. With a hint of soul power mixed in, the sound transformed into waves and spread far away. Who is so audacious as to speak recklessly? Wu Jiang, dressed in black, rushed out with a face full of anger. Are you the old thief Wu Jiang? Wu Jiang Qi Jie, old. He's only in his early 20s, where is he getting old? Stinky kid, who are you? You dare to be so reckless. I'm such a dad, . Old thief, I'm here to collect the debt. My two beautiful sisters are insulted and even physically assaulted by you. If you don't give me an explanation, I won't be able to leave. Chrysanthemum held on to the small purple stream and shouted loudly. The two maids blushed slightly and looked at Chrysanthemum with a hint of moisture in their eyes. I didn't expect my little brother, who had only known each other for a few days, to really stand out for them. Wu Jiang snorted coldly and said, "Aren't they just two lowly maids? I'll fight and then I'll fight. What can you do with me?" Chrysanthemum's eyes were slightly cold and he smiled. There is no distinction between high and low in life, it's just that some people think they are. He, the commoners are the commoners, and the nobles are the nobles. There are differences from birth, and the commoners can never become nobles. What is lowliness? What is nobility? Wang Ho, Jiangxiang, and Xiangning have seeds. The identity you have obtained now is only a shade given by your father's generation. You said that the common people cannot become nobles, but your ancestors were born nobles. Setting aside the background, what do you have to praise? Cultivation. Ability. Or is it your fat all over? Chen Mo's blunt satire. The social form of Di still remains in feudal autocracy, where aristocratic slave owners crazily exploit the common people and even refer to them as lowly people. Only the martial soul hall has changed, treating ordinary people equally and giving them a chance to awaken and reverse their fate. As Chen Mo, who grew up under the Red Flag exhibition, naturally couldn't see these people the most. You stinky kid, sharp-tongued and sharp-tongued. Besides taking advantage of your words, what other abilities do you have? Wu Jiang was furious and despondent. He was born into a wealthy environment that made him forget everything and enjoy it to the fullest. Coupled with his poor talent, he was a spoiled playboy who was willing to fall for it. Chen Mo took a step forward and sneered, "Chen Mo, 13-level strong attack soul master, martial soul. Sword, please teach me." Wu Jiang was taken aback and said, "How could that be? Are you actually a soul master?" At such an age, a soul master must have extraordinary talent, and the power behind him is unimaginable. Wu Jiang has a promiscuous personality, but he is not foolish. He understands how to kick down the iron plate. Ha! Ha, little brother, I didn't expect it to be me who took a wrong look. Wu Jiang's face immediately changed and he apologized with a smile on his face. I have soul master skills since I was young, and my talent is definitely extraordinary. Anyway, for the sake of my face, I apologize for my previous actions. Two girls, it was my lard that got in the way and offended both of you. Please forgive me. Wu Jiang sincerely bowed and apologized. He couldn't handle Chen Mo anymore. Nanny. Shouldn't it be you who refused to accept the challenge, got beaten up and didn't even know your mother, then knelt down and begged for mercy, asking me to pretend to be X? Hey. It's very unethical of you to do this. Chen Mo looked depressed and glanced left and right. The two maids were also blinded and stood in the same place. Wu Jiang, who was bending down and bowing, remained motionless and did not get up. Since that's the case, you can take some money out as compensation, and this matter will. Just as Chen Mo was about to give a step, suddenly an 11 or 12-year-old boy rushed up from the door, shouting and shouting. Big brother, why apologize? Let me come and meet you. Wu Feng, level 16 strong attack soul master, martial soul. Wild boar. Chen Mo's mouth curved upwards, worrying about not having the opportunity to try his first soul skill, which left him stunned. Chen Mo, level 13 strong attack soul master, martial soul. Sword. The virtual shadow of the wild boar martial soul appeared behind Wu Feng, and a yellow soul ring appeared at his feet. His first soul skill was barbaric charge. Like transforming into a wild boar over 3 meters high, it charged forward and shook up waves of dust. Chen Mo's right hand sword points upwards, with a hilt floating in the air and a yellow soul ring winding upwards. His first soul skill is the Wanxiang Sword Shadow. The enhancement effect of the Martial Soul special effect is increased by 100 times, and the Shadow Sword has a shadow that is invisible. The hilt carries light points and rises into the sky, transforming into 3,000 sword shadows and shooting directly at Wu Feng. During the flight, the sword shadow seemed to transform into a myriad of creatures, appearing in various forms. Among them, several skeleton undead held swords and swung them, while some death tree demons and vines danced and took their lives. Such a scene has shocked everyone for 10,000 years. Wu Jiang stood still in shock and said, "You really lied to me. Damn it, level 13 Soul Master. Who is so arrogant about the first soul skill?" Chen Mo was also a bit stunned and said, lying down, "Is the 100 times martial soul special effect so powerful? It's much more realistic than movie special effects." Yes, the scenes that seem so terrifying, even more terrifying, are illusory. Like a 3D virtual projection from a previous life. Visually realistic, it won't cause any harm to reality. At the same time, Wu Feng, who launched a savage collision, was shocked and his unstable soul skills dissipated automatically. He cried out, "Ma Ma," and fled into the mansion. Chen Mo's first soul skill achieved victory before his true ultimate strike could be achieved. Taking advantage of the shock of the crowd around him, he grabbed the small hand of Xiaozi Creek and returned to his residence with the compensation he wanted. "Two sisters, this money can be considered as some compensation for you. Take it back and buy something good. There's only so much I can do." Chen Mo put the money into the hands of the two women and said with a smile. He has no ability to change the form of the entire society, nor can he save everyone. What he can do is nothing but live up to his heart and deserve education under the red flag. Xiaozi and Xiaozi had slightly red eyes, looked at each other, took a left and right swipe on Chen Mo's face, blushed, and fled as if. "Thank you, Chen Mo." Chen Mo touched his face in a daze. It was too fast, he didn't feel much yet. "How about? Do we do it again?" However, looking at the departing figure, Chen Mo felt inexplicably relieved in his heart. Brilliant smile, warm in the heart. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. First encounter with the Virgin Hulena, how about we meet together? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. First encounter with the Virgin Hulena, how about we meet together? Elder Ju, does that child's martial soul really have that kind of power? Bibi stood in the hall and heard Yu Guan talk about Chen Mo's hunt for the soul ring, feeling puzzled in his heart. The towering light column and the white light stretching for thousands of miles make even the titled Douluo feel shocked. Is it really a little guy who has just awakened his martial soul? The mystery on Chen Mo's body made her more curious. To the Pope, what I have said is true. That young man's martial soul is definitely extraordinary. Yu Guan paused and said, I think it's highly likely to be a twin martial soul. Twin martial souls. Bibidong remained silent. If that child's talent is really so strong, he must stay in the martial soul hall, otherwise he can only be killed. Elder Ju, order Chen Mo to enter the martial soul hall academy. No. Piandian. Xiao Tian, what about random task rewards? Chen Mo asked in confusion. Why not give a reward even though everything has been resolved? Although the intimacy of the system is also useless. Buzz. Master, random task. The maid's grievance has not been completed yet. Please complete it within the specified time. Chen Mo pondered, what else are Xiaozi and Xiaozi hiding? Is Chen Mo there? The voice of Yu Guan came from outside the door. Hey! Elder Chrysanthemum. Chen Mo stood up to greet. What wind brought you here? Just returned from the soul hunting forest and came to find me so quickly. It seems that Bibidong has a new order. Boy, you're lucky. The Pope made an exception and invited you to the Martial Soul Temple Academy. Yu Guan had a smile on his face, and the more he looked, the more he felt that the boy in front of him was extraordinary. He could be valued by the Pope Bibidong, and his future was limitless. Martial Soul Hall Academy. Chen Imo was pleasantly surprised. The Martial Soul Hall is undoubtedly the pinnacle of power in the entire continent, and the strength of the Martial Soul Hall Academy cannot be underestimated. As the golden generation in the subsequent Pan-Continent Soul Master Elite competition, each person is extraordinary. If it weren't for Tang San and the Seven Monsters, the Martial Soul Hall would definitely be able to unify the mainland. The peak combat power is dominant, and the young Soul Master has a strong talent. The Martial Soul Hall, like the sun in the sky, will surely become even stronger. He chose the Martial Soul City as his birthplace with the aim of joining the Martial Soul Hall and rapidly rising and becoming stronger with its vast resources. That's right, you should prepare as soon as possible and report to the Martial Soul Hall Academy. Yu Guan said and left. Traveling through the fifth day, perhaps it's time to plan your future path. Chen Imo clenched his fists, although he had a peculiar system, he still couldn't stop him from filling the cup. With a gleam in his eyes, is the Martial Soul Hall Academy ready for the arrival of the young master? On the other side, Xiaoxi and Xiaozi returned to their residence with the golden soul coin, hurriedly tidying up and leaving the Martial Soul Hall to head towards the outer city. The Martial Soul City is divided into two cities, inner and outer, as well as the Martial Soul Hall located in the center. The outer city is mostly inhabited by commoners, while the inner city is inhabited by nobles. Under the interference of the Martial Soul Hall, the aristocratic system of slave owners is slowly crumbling, and commoners are also experiencing a day of transformation. There are many martial soul academies built in the outer city and inner city to teach children who awaken their martial souls. Although they are not as good as noble martial soul academies, they also provide ordinary soul masters with a slight opportunity to become stronger. Xiaoxi and Xiaozi are both orphans who grew up in the slums of the outer city. When they were 8 years old, they were unexpectedly brought into the inner city and entered the Martial Soul Hall to work and live. But they haven't forgotten the people who are still in the slums. They usually find time to visit the elderly people who have taken care of them before. This time, the unexpectedly obtained golden soul coin was discussed and decided to bring it to the children living in the slums, hoping to improve their lives. On the way. Xiaoxi, won't Xiaomo be angry if we do this? Xiaozi was a bit worried about Chenmo's attitude. Shouldn't it be? I can tell that Xiaomo is a kind-hearted child, and even if he knew, he would support us in doing so, Xiaozi thought for a moment and said. Hey, I don't know how everyone is doing. Last time I went back, several elderly people were not doing well. We are lucky enough to enter the Martial Soul Hall as maids, but we must not forget our roots. If it weren't for everyone's help, we would have starved to death on the streets long ago. Sister, I know. Let's hurry up and leave, it feels like someone is following us. Xiaozi glanced left and right, and was already far away from the central street. The path is starting to become secluded. It's okay, we're working in the Martial Soul Hall now, don't be afraid. Xiaoxi also felt something was wrong, but still spoke out to comfort him. The Wu family, where Wu Jiang is located in the inner city of Wuhuan City and belongs to the aristocratic class. Some members of the family hold high positions in the Martial Soul Hall, and they are not afraid of being looked down upon or beaten at will by these maids. However, no one in the outer city dares to disrespect the people in the Martial Soul Hall, even the maids. The two of them bravely continued on their journey, unaware that there was indeed one person following behind them. Humph, isn't that right? That kid can't even deal with the two lowly maids. He'll have to return what he took from my house sooner or later. A figure of 11 or 12 years old sneaked along behind the two women, Wu Feng. Chen Imo wandered around to the maid's residence, but couldn't find Xiaoxi and Xiaozi. Upon closer investigation, it turned out that the two maids had gone to the outer city. Chen Mo, who happened to be extremely bored, applied to leave the Martial Soul Hall and prepared to stroll around the Martial Soul City. Along the way, he went to find two people and completed the task. Step out of the Martial Soul Hall and leave the inner city. The bustling scene along the way really surprised Chen Mo, and the level of prosperity was not inferior to that of first-tier cities in his previous life. If there is an opportunity in the future, wandering around the world and experiencing the scenery of a different world, it would be great. Chen Mo was wandering on the street with his hands in his pants. The place where the two women live has been thoroughly inquired about in the Martial Soul Hall, but they are a bit disoriented and looking for the wrong direction. I heard that the Junior Soul Master Academy is about to start recruiting students, and I don't know how many people will have the opportunity this time. Our Martial Soul City is fine. As long as you awaken your martial soul and possess innate soul power, even at a few levels, there will always be a college that accepts you. If it's elsewhere, people won't even look at you. Several children on the roadside gathered together to discuss enrollment. Chen Mo became excited and walked over. Classmate, I see that my brothers are only 6 or 7 years old, have they awakened? Where did you come from? You have good eyesight, we are all soul masters who have awakened our martial souls. Which college are you planning to join? I also said to my younger brother. Hey, I'm not afraid you'll laugh at me. The one I really want to go to is the Martial Soul Hall Academy. I heard that as long as I graduate, I'm sure I can stay at the Martial Soul Hall and work there. I envy you so much. A few little brats boasted and talked about the Martial Soul Hall Academy with envy, but with their talents, there was no possibility. As long as you work hard, you can become stronger anywhere, Chen Moshi said as he poured in chicken soup. By the way, do you guys know how to get to the slums? One of the chubby children's eyes lit up and they said, hee, what are you doing there? Are you also looking for that one? Who is that? Chen Mo was puzzled. Hey. Don't you know? The only guy in the slums to enter the Martial Soul Hall Academy in decades. It's so terrifying. Chen Mo looked surprised. The requirements for entering the Martial Soul Hall Academy are very strict, just compare them with other academies to know. The quality of martial soul is at least top-notch, and the innate soul power also needs to be at levels 5 or 6. How could such a genius emerge from a small slum? Could it be reincarnation through time travel? She's a legend from our outer city. I don't know how many aristocratic forces have invited her to the slums. No, if there really is such a character, one should never rely on being unknown. Chen Mo searched for memory but couldn't find any information, and his heart became increasingly curious. What's her name after hearing you speak so mysteriously? Hulena. Hulena. Chen Mo exclaimed in surprise. Hulena, hailed as the strongest person of the Golden Generation. She was born into a slum. That's not right either. If it were really Hulena, wouldn't there still be her brother Xiaoyu? It's impossible to have only one person. That's right. Just call it Hulena. Hey. Suddenly, a person next to him exclaimed in surprise, look at you guys, who is that? Chen Mo turned his head and saw a petite figure with a cool and youthful temperament walking on the street. Although there were so many people on the street, seeing that girl Chen Mo was sure that she was Hulena. Buzz. Master, trigger a random task. First met Saint. Leaving a good impression in the hearts of the future saints, the owner is bound to do so. Completing the task earns a reward, character intimacy, * unlock, and if the task fails, accept random punishment. Sure, my dear. I've noticed that you're getting smarter and smarter. Buzz. Thank you for your compliments, Master Chen Mo is speechless. Why would Mao have such a strange task? I don't think I'm really praising you, do I? Foolish children's intelligence is worrying. Brothers, have a good chat. Let's have a meal together next time we meet. Let's go first. Goodbye. Chenmo ran a little and caught up. Besides, Hulena is also a future classmate. It's not too much to say hello, is it? Hi. Hello, my name is Chenmo. Are you going to the slums? Can we walk together? I happen to be going there too, but I don't know the way. Hulena stopped and glanced at the little brat blocking in front of her. Without saying a word, she walked over, leaving Chenmo in disarray in the wind. Is this so cold and high? Chenmo turned around and chased after him. Hey, you. Why don't you pay attention to me when I say hello to you? I'm also a new student at the Martial Soul Hall Academy, maybe we're still classmates. Martial Soul Hall Academy. Hulena paused in her footsteps. You said you are also a student of the Martial Soul Hall Academy. Why have I never seen you before? Ah. Well. That's because I haven't enrolled yet. Hulena glanced at Chenmo and left without saying a word. The lonely personality she developed from a young age makes it difficult for her to talk to strangers. Usually, it's her brother who does it, but he didn't come with her this time. Suddenly stopped on the street, Hulena was wary and did not fully believe Chenmo's words. Hey. You. Why don't you believe what I'm saying? Chenmo was in a hurry and finally found someone who was on the same path. It's hard to say that he's still a future classmate, so he should leave an impression no matter what. Besides, there are also random tasks. Well. Do you believe it now? Chenmo held a token and stopped Hulena, swaying in front of her. Upon closer inspection, Hulena's mind was shaken. Surprisingly, was there an order from the elder of the Martial Soul Hall? What is the identity of the person in front of me? She quickly bowed and said, I've seen the elder. Chenmo didn't expect the elder's order to have such a significant impact, so he hurriedly said, no need, no need. I think you're also going to the slums, right? Coincidentally, I'll go too, okay? Well. Okay. Hulena ultimately agreed to go with Chenmo. After all, the elder's order was too scary. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Arrogant and domineering Wu Feng, brutally beaten. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Arrogant and domineering Wu Feng, brutally beaten. You too, if you could come back and take a look, we would already be satisfied. There's no need to buy so many things, an old man with white hair instructed Xiaoxi and Xiaozi, holding their hands. In the rudimentary room, the old woman with white hair sat on the bed, while another handsome old man stood to the side. Xiaoxi and Xiaozi stood by the bed carrying gifts. Grandma Li, it's okay. Xiaozi and I can also make money now. We should buy you some supplements. Xiaoxi put down the gift and held the old woman's withered right hand with both hands, feeling inexplicably sad in his heart. Sister is right, Grandma, you can rest assured to eat these things, there's not enough left. Xiaozi held the old woman's left hand and acted coquettishly. Hey, you two girls. The old woman's eyes were filled with tears. In the blink of an eye, the little girl I picked up back then was almost growing into a big girl. The old man also looked relieved and said, you came back just in time. A few of those little bunnies are ready to awaken their martial souls and give them a try. You should also tell them not to be deceived when the time comes. Grandpa has been feeling increasingly difficult these years, so he couldn't help but let go. Unfortunately, those kids haven't seen them grow up yet, nor have they seen you two get married. Sigh. People tend to think recklessly when they get old, and thinking too much can easily make them sad. Xiaoxi and Xiaozi's eyes turned slightly red upon hearing this, and tears welled up in their eyes. You dead old man, what are you talking about? The old woman cursed. The two children finally came back. Why are you bringing this up? Yes, my child, don't worry about what the old man said. The old man smiled and said, having you is already the happiest thing in the second half of our lives. Grandpa and Grandma, don't worry, Xiaoxi forced back tears and smiled, you can definitely live 100 years long. My sister and I haven't gotten married and had children yet, and you haven't seen a grandson yet. Xiao Zi's face blushed slightly. So. You must take good care of yourself. Stop talking, make a fuss. The old man walked towards the door and said, I'll go see if a few cubs have returned. The two elderly people have lived without children for most of their lives, so they brought back their abandoned children in the slums for adoption. It has been 15 years in a blink of an eye. In addition to Xiaoxi and Xiaozi, there are 3 children aged 5 or 6. However, as they grew older, the two elderly people also lost their ability to make a living, relying on the support of their 2 daughters and the begging of a few children to survive. Xiaoxi and Xiaozi stayed in their room chatting with the old woman's family, and suddenly, a thud came from outside the door. Who are you? The old man collapsed to the ground in pain and asked. The 11 or 12-year-old boy blocked the door and said arrogantly, Old man, let those 2 lowly maids come out. Wu Feng ignored the old man who had been pushed down by him and spoke loudly. Xiaoxi and Xiaozi heard the sound and immediately came out. They saw the old man sitting on the ground and quickly went over to help him up. Are you Wu Feng? What are you doing here? Xiaoxi looked closely and realized it was actually from the Wu family. Hee, you lowly servant, you've made my Wu family lose face. How dare you ask me why I'm here? Wu Feng became even more arrogant. No matter what he did in the outer city or in the slums, no one could control him. Surprisingly, it made my elder brother bow his head and apologize, and even made me lose face, damn lowly servant. He couldn't forget the day when Chenmo scared him so much that he couldn't forget the ridicule that followed. He was so scared by a child who had just awakened his martial soul that he ran away. It was like losing face to his Wu family. Even his father, who was the head of the family, looked down on him and didn't listen to his elder brother's explanation, severely punishing him. Everything is the fault of the 2 lowly maids in front of me, Wu Feng roared in his heart. Xiaoxi's face turned pale, and it was obvious that Wu Feng had come aggressively to seek revenge. He didn't have the ability to seek revenge on Chenmo, so he came to vent his anger on them. I tell you, you'd better not act recklessly. Humph, lowly servant, even if I mess around, what can you do to me? Just a lowly maid. Do you really think anyone would care about you? Wu Feng approached slowly, his martial soul possessed by a wild boar, and his body suddenly rose with an imposing aura. The old man trembled and stood in front of the 2 women, facing the aura of the Soul Master without flinching. He angrily scolded, as a Soul Master, I actually bullied an unarmed woman. It's in vain to be called a Soul Master. Old man, what else do I need your guidance on? It's just a waste from the slums, I can play whatever I want. With a casual push, the old man flew out and crashed into the wall, unconscious and on the brink of death. Grandpa. The 2 women were shocked and were about to run over to help the old man, but Wu Feng grabbed them tightly with both hands and couldn't move a single moment. What exactly do you want to do? Xiaoxi suppressed his fear and angrily said. Xiao Zi was uncontrollable, tears streaming uncontrollably. You will soon know what I really want to do. Before Wu Feng could finish speaking, he let out a piercing sound and tore off a strand of his clothes, revealing his smooth shoulders. Ah! You beast! The stream exclaimed in surprise and cursed loudly. She didn't expect Wu Feng to dare so recklessly, but as a Soul Master, he was powerful and the 2 women couldn't break free at all. Seeing her sister being bullied, Xiaozi gathered the courage to tear and beat Wu Feng, but with his martial soul possessed, he couldn't feel any threat at all. You look pretty good, as long as you promise to serve me for 1 night, I'll let her go. How about that? Wu Feng pointed at Xiao Zi and said to the stream. The Wu family has a certain say in the martial soul hall, and killing a lowly maid will naturally not be pursued too deeply, but ultimately there will be some trouble. However, even if you can't kill someone, you need to vent your anger. The stream was filled with pear blossoms and rain, and Chen Mo's face suddenly appeared in her mind. However, she also understood that at this moment, no one could help her. Pop! A wooden stick hit Wu Feng, and he turned around to see an old woman with gray hair glaring angrily at him. "Old man, you're getting impatient with life, right?" Wu Feng cursed. The old woman trembled but still cursed, "Animal, let go of my granddaughter." Just a casual glance, seeing the old man fall to the ground and lose his breath, the old woman suffocated in her heart and fell straight down. "Grandma!" The two women were crying with heart-wrenching cries, but they couldn't break free from Wu Feng's hands and watched as the two elderly people collapsed in front of them. "Animal, you animal! Let go of me! I must kill you!" Xiaoxi and Xiaozi could never have imagined that this return to visit their family would be such a result. "Cut, it's just two lowly people. If you die, you'll die." Wu Feng didn't care at all. In his opinion, can the lives of the lowly people be called lives? Would you feel guilty about stomping on an ant like you would normally do? Not really. Life is like a blade of grass. Tearing the clothes on the two women's bodies became less and less, and the spring light leaked out. Bang! 3 children aged 5 or 6 appeared at the door. "Bad guy, let go of sister." One of the tall and thin boys shouted and rushed over, punching and kicking. Xiaoxi and Xiaozi became increasingly desperate and said, "Hurry up and leave, don't come over." A group of little ghosts, humph. Wu Feng let out a cold snort, and his soul power turned into qi, directly shaking the 3 children up. Obstructive guy. Before he could finish speaking, he kicked out one by one. Xiaoming. Beast, Wu Feng, you must die so hard. 3 children collided with the wall, bleeding from the corners of their mouths, and fainted. Seeing this scene, Xiaoxi and Xiaozi felt even more desperate in their hearts. "Chenemo will definitely not let you go. Chenemo hehe, one day I will seek revenge." Wu Feng's hatred grew stronger in his eyes, and his hand movements became faster and faster. Seeing the 2 women on horseback naked and their bodies exposed, a black figure rushed over and kicked him out in the chest. The figure placed the 2 women on the ground, draped them in a black robe to cover the sudden release of spring light. Immediately, I explored the 3 children and found that they were still breathing. I breathed a little sigh of relief, but the 2 elderly people couldn't wake up anymore. "Damn, mind your own business, who are you?" Wu Feng pushed open the door panel pressed against his body and walked out with a disheveled face, cursing. "Animal." Hulena couldn't help but curse. That's right, it was Hulena who arrived. After meeting on the street, the 2 of them came together to the slums. Originally planned to separate, but Hulena was worried that Chenemo, who was holding the elder's order, would have an accident, so she had to follow along as well. As he approached, Chenemo suddenly remembered that he didn't bring any gifts on his first visit. He couldn't justify it, and as he was penniless, he had to borrow some money from Hulena to buy gifts. Leaving Hulena alone waiting in place, it wasn't long before she sensed a surge in soul power. Along the way, I happened to encounter something that Wu Feng wanted to do wrong. Hulena, who came from a poor background, saw no signs of bullying and immediately took action to rescue the 2 women. "You came just right, even you cleaned up together." Wu Feng looked like a worm with a green light in his eyes, and he threw a knife at his head without knowing the color. In terms of strength alone, Hulena currently possesses the strength of a level 26 Great Soul Master, while Wu Feng can only has the strength of a level 16 Soul Master, making it impossible for her to be an opponent. "Humph, seek death." Hulena snorted coldly, and Wu Feng's naked gaze made her feel nauseous. The martial soul is possessed by a heavenly fox, and 2 yellow soul rings appear. The second soul skill is enchantment. Wu Feng, who was performing his first soul skill. The savage charge, suddenly froze in place. Hulena took advantage of this opportunity and gave him a fierce beating, knocking him unconscious. Completely unilateral abuse. After tidying up Wu Feng, Hulena immediately walked over to the three children and called out softly. At this moment, Chenemo, who had bought a gift, was also rushing over. End of this chapter. Chapter 7 Function Unlocking. Character Intimacy. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Function Unlocking. Character Intimacy. Didn't you agree to wait for me? Why hasn't this girl seen anyone? Chenemo returned from buying gifts only to find that Hulena was not there. Helpless, a person carrying a gift hummed a tune and continued on their journey. After questioning all the way, I finally found the home of Xiaoxi and Xiaozi. Why is the door open? Without a word of doubt, he walked in. But I saw a figure with a black skirt and short hair supporting a child, and the courtyard was dilapidated, with people lying in all directions. Hulena. Chenemo exclaimed in surprise. What happened here? Chenemo threw down his gift and hurriedly came to the unconscious two women, calling out softly, Little Creek. Little Purple. What's wrong with you? Seeing the large exposed skin of the two, Chenmo's mood became even heavier. Hulena, what's going on? I felt the wave of soul power rushing over and saw that beast's desire to do something wrong. Hulena glanced at Chenemo and pointed to Wu Feng, who had fainted and turned into a pig's head. Chenemo breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that the two women had no signs of being violated despite their tattered clothes revealing spring scenery. Go straight ahead. Is it him? Do you know each other? Chenmo's face was frosty and silent. The old man and woman who died in front of the door, three children who were seriously injured, and Xiaoxi and Xiaozi who were almost humiliated. Obviously, Wu Feng followed the two women to find this place for revenge. Is it ultimately because I thought it was too simple? Chenemo, who lived in a peaceful era, had not yet experienced darkness and life and death. The scene before him cruelly and clearly told him that this was a world of survival for the fittest. Chenmo's gaze became eerie, and a fierce killing intent spread throughout. Are you going to kill him? Hulena felt a chill and was immediately shocked. Chenemo did not answer. He held the Qingying sword in his hand, half of the hilt, and the sword had an invisible shadow. He is a nobleman and should be handed over to the law enforcement team of the Martial Soul Hall for disposal. Although Hulena also wanted to kill that beast, the Martial Soul Hall had its rules, and nobles who violated the law were judged by law enforcement teams. Killing nobles also violates the rules of the Martial Soul Hall. Killing someone to pay for their life, it's only natural. Chenmo's killing intention has been decided, this kind of animal is not worthy of living in the world. When the Qingying sword fell, a powerful soul force flew Chenmo out and fiercely collided with the wooden door. Stinky kid, how could he be so ruthless in his actions? It's just that he killed a few lowly people. A black-robed man hugged Wu Feng and landed on the roof, his tone indifferent. Hulena stood up in an instant and came to Chenmo's side. How are you? Chenmo coughed up a mouthful of blood and said, No, it's okay, we can't die yet. Who are you? The black-robed man rushed over without leaving a hand. The blow had already seriously injured Chenmo's internal organs, and at this moment, he was strengthening his body while fully absorbing soul rings. Otherwise, at this moment, he is already a corpse. Hee, kid, the black-robed man sneered, this time you're lucky. After speaking, his figure leaped and disappeared into the distance. The soul power fluctuation of that blow has already alarmed the patrol army. If you don't leave, you will be left behind. Puff. Chenmo couldn't help but spray a mouthful of blood again, and Hulena's body was also stained with a lot. Hey! Are you really okay? Hulena asked nervously. Nothing. It's strange. Before he could finish speaking, he fainted. Chenemo Chenemo. Hulena shouted a few times but still couldn't wake up, instantly panicking. Chenemo is a big shot with an elder's order. In case something happens, Marshal Soul Hall, Pian Hall. Chenemo regained consciousness and couldn't help but moan, my mouth is so thirsty. The 5 organs and 6 viscera are burning and painful, with dry mouth and tongue, and a splitting headache. Ho heard a faint cry from the creek beside the bed and immediately rejoiced. Chenemo, are you awake? Tears swirling in my eyes couldn't help but linger. Xiao Zi, come on, bring me the water. Hey, here we go. The stream lifted Chenemo and leaned against him, slowly feeding him water. Two sisters, are you okay? Chenemo opened his eyes and smiled. He saw the 2 women with teary eyes and a worried expression, and their bodies didn't hurt as much anymore. You're still laughing, do you know how long you've been unconscious this time? Woo. If something happens to you, my sister and I won't live either. As long as you're okay. By the way, where's Hulena? She has returned to the college. I'm sorry, I couldn't kill that beast. Chenemo looked down with guilt. He didn't expect Wu Feng to be rescued, wishing he could avenge the 2 elderly people and 2 women. Chenemo, don't say that, we already know. Xiaoxi couldn't help but cry. Sister is right, it's not your fault. Xiaoxi nodded, her eyes turning red. That day, when I woke up and saw Chenemo seriously injured and unconscious, coupled with what Hulena said, how could the 2 women blame him for not being grateful enough? I'll report to the Pope. Wait a moment, I'll go in person. But your body. It's okay, it's almost done. The 2 women couldn't resist Chenemo, so they had to help each other find the Moon Pass, only to find out that Pope Bibidong was not in the Marshal Soul Hall. Elder Chrysanthemum, if the Pope returns, please inform him that this matter can be resolved by me personally, without bothering the Marshal Soul Hall. Yu Guan stared at Chenemo, whose face was pale, with a hint of solemnity and appreciation flashing in her eyes. Okay, I will report to the Pope. So, thank you, Elder Chrysanthemum. After speaking, with the help of the 2 women, he returned to the room. 2 sisters, please go back and rest. We apologize for your grandparents' situation. They don't want you to be sad all the time, so go back. Chenemo knew that the 2 women must not be feeling well, after all, Wu Feng was led by them. So your body. I can take care of myself, go back. Then we'll come back tomorrow. Xiaoxi and Xiaozi reluctantly left, leaving Chenemo alone in the empty room. This sudden incident made Chen Moyu realize that he is still too weak and needs to grow as soon as possible. I will find you. And then kill you. He won't forget the blow from the black-robed man, the feeling of being on the brink of death. Buzz. Master, task. First meet the saint, complete, reward distribution. Character intimacy, * unlock, character intimacy. Future Saint Juliana, first met. 10 out of 100, Pope Bibidong, first met. 5 out of 100, title Douluo Yueguan, first met. 20 out of 100, Maiden Xiaoxi, first met. 100/100, Buzz. Congratulations to the master. The intimacy level between the maid Xiaoxi and Xiaozi has reached 100, and their advancement is. Trust 100/1000, obtain achievement reward. Increase the lifespan of any soul ring by 100 years. Ahem. Achievement rewards. It seems pretty good. Hehe, Xiaotian, it's okay. I've grown a lot. Buzz. Master, Xiaotian has now upgraded with more rich features and rewards. Achievement reward. Unlock achievement rewards for every new achievement or achievement point accumulated to a certain value. Not bad, not bad. It seems that the growth rate of the system Xiaotian is quite good. He only completed 3 tasks and upgraded once, and added additional features. The reward is truly positive. Increase the lifespan of any soul ring by 100 years. Chenemo summoned the Xian black sword box, on which a yellow soul ring flashed a white light, with a deeper color that lasted for about 600 years. Chenemo sat cross-legged on the bed and began to meditate. Task. The maid's grievance has not been completed yet, which proves that it needs to be thoroughly resolved in order to complete it, and now he does not have enough strength. The Papal Palace. His Majesty the Pope, that kid said he hopes that the Martial Soul Hall will abandon the investigation into the slums and he will personally solve it. Yu Guan conveyed Chen Mo's meaning. He couldn't escape the blame for Chen Mo's injury. He thought that the young man had an elder's order in hand, so no one dared to take action against him. Unexpectedly, something unexpected happened. What a good Chen Mo, since he has confidence, why not leave it to him? Bibidong praised him greatly. Only geniuses who are not afraid of difficulties and dangers can grow into true strength. Elder Ju, there's no need to take special care of him at the Martial Soul Hall Academy. But will it waste his talent? I believe he won't let me down. No. Martial Soul Hall Academy, there used to be Hulena, Xiaoyu, and Yan, but now there is a character like that boy. I think it will be even more exciting and lively. Well, I'm really looking forward to it too. I'm leaving. The Papal Palace has fallen into tranquility. Mainland Soul Master Academy is divided into Junior Soul Master Academy, Intermediate Soul Master Academy, and Advanced Soul Master Academy. As long as the soul power reaches level 30, one can graduate. The level division of Soul Master Academy generally refers to the scale, registered capital, and faculty strength of the college. There is no doubt that the Martial Soul Hall Academy is an Advanced Soul Master Academy, even surpassing other Advanced Soul Master Academies. College classes are generally divided into junior classes, below level 25, intermediate classes, levels 25. 39, and advanced classes, levels 30 and above, based on their level of soul power. Junior classes are further divided into 3 grades. First grade, below level 15, second grade, levels 15.19, and third grade, levels 20.24. Among them, each class and grade is divided into 4 grades based on the different talents of the students. A, B, C, and D. The classification of talent levels will be based on the quality of martial soul and innate soul power at the time of enrollment, and there is also a way to promotion, which is to challenge oneself by jumping over the level. Martial Soul Hall Academy, Intermediate Class A. Hulena stared at the clouds outside the window in a daze. She was a little curious about the identity of Chen Mo. The Elder Token is not something that ordinary people can obtain, and he is only 6 years old. And his martial soul, the sword with only the hilt. What surprised her even more was that Chen Mo survived a blow from the soul sect. I hope you're not lying. Hulena murmured. Nana, what are you thinking? A muscular young man with red curly hair sat in the front row and asked. Yen. Are you back? Hulena regained her senses and exclaimed in surprise. Yan is one of her few friends and companions, along with her brother Xiaoyu, and their relationship has always been good. Well, that guy Xiaoyu didn't want the beautiful woman to come back, so I came over first. Yan had a hint of joy hidden deep in his eyes. Hey, you guy, I knew you had no intentions. Xiaoyu walked over with a smile and patted Yan. Sister, I didn't do that. It's this guy who has a lecherous heart but no lecherous courage, and even splashed sewage on me. Xiaoyu chuckled and flattered Hulena. Look, I brought you a lot of fun things this time. Brother, I'm not a child anymore. Don't keep buying these little toys. Hulena looked at the pile of little dolls on the table and said helplessly. In my brother's heart, you will always be a little girl, Xiaoyu chuckled. Upon hearing these words, Hulena felt a surge of warmth in her heart. Her brother always took care of her meticulously, from childhood to adulthood. Yen was not convinced by the slander from Evil Moon, and the two began to entangle, one by one. Hulena shook her head helplessly, with the corners of her mouth raised. From childhood to adulthood, both of them were like this, and every time they got together, they couldn't help but argue. I don't know if that guy woke up. The contract has been sent out and the signing is imminent. Please support us. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The system asked me to fill the cup, so I had to open 1/10. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The system asked me to fill the cup, so I had to turn on 110 dong dong dong. Chen Mo sat cross-legged on the bed, meditating and practicing soul power with his eyes closed. As he entered a state of improvement, a sudden knock on the door followed by the sound of a stream drifting into the room. Chen Mo, the Martial Soul Hall Academy is recruiting students today. Elder Ju has ordered us to come and take you there. Hee, I guess Chen Mo is still sleeping. Little Z leaned her head against the door and looked inside hard. Chen Mo regulated his breath steadily, his starry eyes shining brightly, sweeping away his decadence. The two girls are in a good mood. Since returning from the slum, Xiaoxi and Xiaozi have been feeling unhappy. Chen Mo took advantage of his rest and often went to talk to the two women, which had a good effect. However, whenever Chen Mo thinks of the black-robed man, he looks like a jerk. Although the treatment conditions in the Martial Soul Hall are quite superior, it took him 2 weeks to fully recover. Washed too much time. Wu Feng, and the man in the black robe, one day I will personally come to your door. And, this day won't be too far. I swear. Not delaying for too long, Chen Mo casually tidied up and followed the two women to the Martial Soul City. The Martial Soul Hall Academy was established based on the Martial Soul Hall and is located outside the Martial Soul City, with beautiful mountains and rivers, covering an extremely wide area. The teacher who teaches also serves as a part-time deacon at the Martial Soul Hall and enjoys the benefits of being a staff member at the Martial Soul Hall. According to strength, the minimum requirement for positions is also at level 50 or above Soul King. Soul Sect with a strength level of 40.49 is an internship teaching assistant, Soul King with a strength level of 50.59 is an ordinary teacher, Soul Emperor with a strength level of 60.69 is a first-class teacher, Soul Saint with a strength level of 70.79 is a special teacher, Soul Douluo with a strength level of 80.89 is the chief teacher, and Douluo with a title above level 90 is an honorary teacher. In addition to teachers, the college also has management personnel for daily affairs, cleaning personnel, and research personnel. Chen Mo and his companions have witnessed the grandeur of the enrollment of the Martial Soul Academy along the way, not to mention the bustling streets but also the crowds. The enrollment scene is simply livelier than when I first reported on college freshmen. Chen Mo held the soft and boneless little hands of the two women and squeezed them into the crowd, sighing and cursing. What's going on at Chrysanthemum Pass? Didn't you say I had a special move? They didn't send anyone to pick me up, damn it. Xiaoxi and Xiaozi are guarding Chen Mo's side, one on the left and one on the right, to ensure that the 6-year-old brat will not be crushed by anyone. I haven't seen such a lively enrollment at the ordinary Martial Soul Academy before, have I? Little Z's eyes kept turning as she looked around at the crowd, full of confusion. Don't complain, the entrance is right ahead. Xiaoxi, who is the tallest, pointed to the door sign not far ahead. Chen Maden's eyes lit up and he forcefully pushed the two women over. Hello, I'm here to enroll. My name is Chen Mo. Hello, this is your brand number. Please enter and wait for a moment. Someone will take you to test it. The staff at the entrance smiled and roughly explained the precautions, blocking the stream and Xiaozi and allowing only Chen Mo to enter. Sisters, please go back first. Once I pass the assessment inside, I'll go back. Chen Mo stood at the entrance shouting to the two women, unable to do anything. Although there were not many people at the entrance, the sound was noisy. The two women waved their hands and didn't know if they heard or not. They searched for a cool place to wait, and Chen Mo followed the guide signs and entered the testing area. A huge open-air square surrounded by military guards from the Martial Soul Hall, with children under the age of 14 arranged in an orderly line. After a series of tests, Ho was in the center of the square. The assessment of the talent of newly enrolled students in the Martial Soul Hall Academy is mainly based on their martial soul quality and innate soul power. Although it is not accurate, it has been used for a long time and has the most direct effect. In addition to 2 points, testers will also conduct comprehensive evaluations on the cognitive level, on sight reactions, personality traits, and special abilities of students to ensure that every talented student is not buried. Chen Mo is not very interested in testing, so he takes this opportunity to observe where the test results are in hopes to find talented candidates. Since choosing to join the Martial Soul Hall for development, collisions with the main character team are inevitable in the future. Therefore, it is necessary to prepare in advance to prevent the Martial Soul Hall team from following the old path. Martial Soul Quality Testing Venue. Chen Mo stood aside, his eyes fixed on the stage. A white-clothed deacon is responsible for guiding students to reveal their martial souls, while next to him, a teacher with a brain-like appearance glanced at the instrument to record the results, and then a white-clothed deacon read out the results. There are about 5 or 6 groups in the Martial Soul Quality Testing Group, each responsible for a portion of the students. Student number 863, Zhang Qing, Martial Soul. Iron Stick, Quality. Ordinary, Passed. Student 953, Mo Ziliang, Martial Soul. Golden Falcon, Quality. Excellent, Passed. Student number 1083, Tuoba Jun, Martial Soul. White Armored Earth Dragon, Quality. Second Top, Passed. White Armored Earth Dragon. Chen Mo turned his head to look. On the testing field, a 7 or 8-year-old boy stood still, like a tall pine tree. The middle-aged man changed his indifferent attitude and smiled brightly. Tuoba family, not bad. You can go down first. Tuoba Jun remained neither humble nor overbearing and said, okay. White Armored Earth Dragon, with the surname Tuoba. If I remember correctly, there is a holy dragon Douluo Tuoba Shi among the 9 elders of the Martial Soul Hall. What is the connection? Chen Mo searched his memory for a while, but no longer delved deeper. After all, it is still unknown whether we can see each other again. During the testing period, 3 students with second highest level martial soul quality appeared again, 2 males and 1 female. The Martial Soul Hall Academy admits soul masters from all over the continent, and there are naturally many talented individuals emerging among them. However, it has only taken so long for 4 sub-top level martial soul qualities to appear, and there are actually no top-level martial soul students. There must be another hidden truth behind it. Is it? Chen Mo suddenly thought of a possibility that top martial souls are often passed down through bloodline, and the likelihood of commoners having top martial souls is extremely low. With the strong strength of the Martial Soul Hall Academy, it is impossible to attract top-level martial soul students. The most likely way is to secretly enroll and cultivate them. So, is the clown actually me? Chen Mo looked incredulous and said, what exactly does Bibidong want to do? Push me out and sit on the stage. Chrysanthemum Pass cannot conceal the illusion that appeared when he absorbed the first soul ring. Such an illusion must have extraordinary martial souls. As the Pope, Bibidong cannot be unaware of what it means. Top-level martial soul. And soul masters with top-level martial souls are geniuses who can fight beyond their level. At this moment, the middle-aged man came to Chen Mo while taking a break and forced out a bright and gentle smile. Child, it's not a big deal to have a poor martial soul. As long as you work hard to cultivate, you can still become a soul master. This child must have had poor test results, fallen into sadness and unable to extricate themselves. Zhang Zhan, with a cold face and a hot heart, naturally took out his identity as a teacher in an attempt to comfort the child's injured heart. Chen Maozheng lowered his head in contemplation, and upon hearing this, he looked up. The man's stiff smile, as if in a comforting tone, stunned him. You misunderstood, Alright, there's no need to say, I understand everything. What do you understand? Buzz. Master, the main mission. Martial Soul Hall Academy has officially begun. Task 1. Amazing. Passes the test and gains recognition from classmates. The reward for completing the task is a random lottery once, and if the task fails, the martial soul quality will be penalized for degradation. The soft and cute sound of the system Xiaotian rang out at the right time. Upon hearing this, Chen Mo was taken aback and immediately said, Teacher, I haven't taken the test yet. How about? Give it a try. The middle-aged man was a first-class teacher in the Martial Soul Hall, a powerful Soul Emperor level figure named Zhang Zhan. I misunderstood him. Zhang Zhan hesitated slightly and nodded in agreement. Okay, you come up with me. The two of them returned to the testing area, and Zhang Zhan sat on the instrument and adjusted it. Release your martial soul. At this moment, everyone else at the Martial Soul Quality Testing Department was taking a nap, and the remaining children waiting for the test also found a place to rest. Seeing Zhang Zhan leading a child who seemed to be testing, they all gathered around in curiosity. Teacher Zhang personally brought it over for testing. Is it possible that he is a genius? It looks unfamiliar, it should be from out of town. The children whispered to each other and came to sign up for the test, which can be considered as broadening their horizons. Various powerful and strange martial souls emerged one after another, and they also saw peers with extraordinary talents. Other teachers and deacons from the Martial Soul Testing Department also looked around, curious about the outstanding talents that Teacher Zhang could personally bring over. What are the qualities of this child's martial soul? I guess at least it's of excellent quality. Impossible, Teacher Zhang Zhan is a first-class teacher, a strong person at the level of Soul Emperor. Can the person he personally brought over be so ordinary? Is that so reasonable? Chen Mo was about to release his martial soul, but suddenly made a pause. When obtaining the first soul ring, the shadow sword that comes out of the Xian black sword box can be summoned separately without summoning the sword box. He hesitated as he remembered the changes in the Xian black sword box when he obtained the soul ring. If it were summoned, the direct martial soul special effect would enhance the gain effect by 100 times. So, do those children under the stage still have confidence? It's not surprising that Chen Mo looks down on other children, mainly because the beam of light is too thick and big, and he's worried that they won't be able to bear it. Reading this, in order not to excessively undermine the self-esteem of future classmates, Chen Mo decided to only call out Qingying. Flip your palm up and lift the shadow sword. Teacher, please take a look. Zhang Zhan felt the surge of soul power that appeared when Chen Mo summoned the martial soul, and his stiff smile on his face faded, his expression becoming a bit serious. At a young age, he has the power of a soul master. It seems that I underestimated him. Zhang Zhan asked in confusion, look. What do you want me to see? Chen Mo's hands were empty, holding 2 balls of air for him to see. Chen Mo patted his forehead, forgetting that he couldn't even see Qingying at the title Douluo Pass, let alone a soul emperor. Teacher, my martial soul is a sword, named Qingying. Zhang Zhan was suddenly startled. Sword. An invisible sword. In decades of coaching, he has never seen such a peculiar martial soul before. Hit me. Zhang Zhan was brief and powerful, simple and clear. This isn't good. Chen Mo hesitated. Don't talk nonsense, let me test the attack power of your sword. Zhang Zhan was eager. Those who know him know that Zhang Zhan has a lot of research on martial souls. How could he not be tempted to see novel martial souls? Chen Mo couldn't refuse anymore. The yellow soul ring lit up, and his first soul skill was the Wanxiang sword shadow. The Qingying sword stood in the palm of the hand, with scattered light and shadow rising into the sky, transforming into a meteor and falling towards Zhang Zhan. During the flight, the light and shadow seemed to transform into various vivid monsters, roaring and charging towards Zhang Zhan. In the dark, a deadly strike hidden under the illusion of all phenomena quietly arrived. Zhang Zhan's eyes reflected a vast expanse of virtual shadows, as if a majestic force was rushing towards him. Such a stunning visual impact almost caught the Soul Emperor's attention. This son must be included in the family. Zhang Zhan couldn't help but whisper. Immediately, with a wave of his hand, he secretly touched Chen Mo, who was preparing to launch a deadly blow, and his disheveled figure appeared in the distance. After all, there is still a huge gap in strength. Hehe, Teacher Zhang, how are you doing? Is there any evaluation? Chen Mo giggled and didn't care about the surging power inside his body. Cough cough, kid, I need to go back and carefully consider this matter. Come to me after school starts. The other teachers who were watching the excitement in the distance suddenly booed, indicating that Zhang Zhanmu was not pure. There is no doubt about Chen Mo's talent, and his martial soul quality is at least second to the top. Such seedlings cannot be taught by ordinary teachers, and they also have a free time. Ha ha ha, I don't know how many people will rush to get this kid's news when it spreads. With the second highest level martial soul quality, coupled with his majestic soul skills, even if he performs mediocrely in the upcoming tests, he will still become a student with A-level talent. Chen Mo walked down from the envious gaze of the group of children, with no waves in his heart and even a hint of wanting to laugh. He deliberately reduced the enhancement gain of the martial soul special effect to January 10th, but unexpectedly caused a sensation. I don't want to go up either. It's all because the system forced me to install it. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Female Debate with Male Debate, How to Prove You Are a Woman. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Female Debate with Male Debate, How to Prove You Are a Woman. Leaving the martial soul quality testing square, Chen Mo followed the road signs and arrived at other testing locations. Registration of innate soul power. Chen Mo still stayed aside to observe. The children who passed the martial soul quality test gathered here and were divided into batches for innate soul strength testing or registration. There are quite a few people lying and falsifying in this section, but the college is not powerless. Backed by the martial soul hall, except for some families that awaken their martial souls independently, the basic data of the vast majority of children can be accessed. Student number 532, Yun Ziqing, innate soul power. Level 6, passed. Student number 628, Zhou Haoyan, innate soul power. Level 5, passed. The admission standard for the Martial Soul Hall Academy is that the innate soul power should be at least level 5 or above, and the martial soul quality is excellent, which is the minimum standard. Hey, it's him. Just as Chen Mo was about to leave, the white armor sect Tuoba Jun, whom he had seen before at the martial soul test, reappeared, student number 1083, Tuoba Jun, innate soul power. Level 8, excellent. There was a sudden uproar off the field. Innate soul power level 8. What kind of genius is this from? Hey. I know him. In the martial soul quality test just now, his white armored earth dragon martial soul quality was rated as second to top. Upon hearing these words, everyone was once again surprised. Without a doubt, he was a genius, and his words of praise were endless. What is this? You probably don't know which one. Suddenly, an extremely disdainful but proud voice sounded, and the scene instantly quieted down. I think you're jealous. With an innate level 8 soul power and a second highest level martial soul quality, such a talent is more than enough even to enter Class A. Don't pay attention to this lemon essence, he just can't stand it being so excellent, he's not convinced in his heart, that's why he spoke wildly, I don't know what it means. The child who said that sentence looked up with his nose in the air, completely indifferent to the ridicule of others. He waited for the voices around him to gradually weaken before arrogantly scanning the crowd. Cut, you're really frogs at the bottom of the well, I'll tell you. That one, who has a top-level martial soul, and the teacher who tested the quality of martial souls at that time, do you know his level? Everyone looked at each other, seeing that what he said was serious, they didn't interrupt and asked him to pretend. That's a first-class teacher with Soul Emperor level strength. These children mostly come from various places, and although they have backgrounds and family backgrounds, they are actually barely wealthy. For them, soul masters are above all else, pursuing their lifelong dreams. Soul Emperor, it can shock them for a long time. Do you know what the first-class teacher at the Soul Emperor level said? Everyone shook their heads together. He said, let that person come to him after enrollment, which means that as soon as the school starts, that person can follow a Soul Emperor powerhouse to learn and practice. Amazing. Just starting school and being favored by a Soul Emperor, envy. After all, it's because they have strong talents. Let's take it step by step with peace of mind. The benefits of learning cultivation from a strong person are self-evident. At least hunting soul rings is not too difficult, and other cultivation resources are also readily available. At this moment, Ji-Wen has become the object of everyone's attention, and he also enjoys the envious gaze of others. Just remembering the scene she saw at the martial soul test field, Ji-Wen still had a hint of fear in her heart at this moment. The sky was like a real monster, giving him the illusion that even the weakest one could easily tear apart a soul master. And this is just that person's first soul skill. I must hold on to such thick thighs tightly. Ji-Wen secretly made up her mind. After talking for so long, can you tell me his name? Ji-Wen chuckled and said, remember, his name is Chen Mo. On this occasion, promoting Chen Mo's talent, even compared to Tuoba Jun, would definitely offend one side. However, he spared no effort. Fortunately, the situation is not that bad either. Chen Mo was on the side and was surprised to hear someone calling out his name. He didn't expect that Ji-Wen was actually himself playing drums so loudly. So there was a hint of appreciation in my eyes. Seeing Ji-Wen seemingly casually looking over, Chen Mo smiled and gave an approving look. Are you a good young man? There is a bright future ahead, keep working hard, I have a good outlook on you. I can't help but give a thumbs up to like Ji-Wen. On the field, Tuoba Jun still looked cold and passed the innate soul power registration, continuing to the next testing point. Chen Mo took advantage of the shock of the crowd and sneaked to the place where his soul power was being tested. Hello, my name is Chen Mo, and my innate soul power is full soul power. Qin Yu, who was preparing to register, was taken aback at the words and stopped writing half of her name in place. Qin Yu is a third-year student in the junior class of the college, taking advantage of this opportunity to recruit new students and come to work and study. Can you say it again? No wonder she's not calm enough, it's really amazing. The Martial Soul Hall Academy is not without innate soul power, but those people are either specially recruited or secretly cultivated. The appearance of such a living creature with innate soul power in front of me is quite shocking. If she registers an innate full soul power through her hands, and it is not previously registered in the Martial Soul Hall, the Academy will give her some rewards. Qin Yu had curved eyelashes and a pair of clear, watery eyes fixed on Chen Mo. Her face flushed with excitement, carrying a hint of anticipation. Chen smiled brightly, and every female soul master in Douluo had skin as tender as water, straight facial features, smooth hair, and no blemishes, each with its own unique beauty. The young girl in front of me is like a blooming spring orchid, green, tender, pure, and natural. I am born with full soul power. Chen repeated. Okay. Okay, please wait a moment. Qin Yu confirmed again that there were no issues and registered Chen. Suddenly, a sharp and sarcastic voice came from the side. Humph, Qin Yu, I advise you to check your information carefully before registering, so that you don't end up with a work mistake and be punished. It's not good. Douluo lightly tapped on the table, her face indifferent, as if it was for Qin Yu. They entered the Martial Soul Hall Academy in the same year, but Qin Yu had a stronger talent than her and entered the beginner class A to study, while she could only stay in class B. For the past 3 years, Douluo has always wanted to prove that she is better than Qin Yu. So much so that she imitated Qin Yu everywhere. This work-study program, she used to disdain it, but in order to defeat Qin Yu, she still braved the scorching sun. I must be stronger than you. Douluo firmly believed in this. Qin Yu's hand paused as she registered, but she continued to register without even looking at it. She replied, "Thank you for reminding me, but I believe in him." As she gazed at the pristine starry eyes, Qin Yu understood that the boy in front of her was not lying to her. I advise you to think carefully, after all, what kind of person hasn't been around these days? I think he's just lying. You deserve it. Humph. Douluo is not willing to let go, as she cannot see Qin Yu feeling better. She always wants to add some obstacles to her. Chen turned his head in surprise, not expecting that I would also encounter such a bloody scene. To be honest, he was a bit confused at the moment. He thought it was a simple process, but unexpectedly, a Douluo was killed halfway through. Hey! Who did I say you were? Do you have any evidence to prove that I'm not born with full soul power? Chen really doesn't want to deliberately cause trouble, but there was a system task, that was amazing, in the beginning, and then there was Douluo who was aggressive. It seems that it's not feasible to not take action. Douluo looked at Chen with a cold face, surprised that he would speak up and ask herself a question. Since you have a clear conscience, why not reveal your martial soul and let everyone judge it? Whether it's true or false, it's natural to know. Douluo doesn't care whether Chen is lying or not. She is completely trying to disgust Qin Yu. As for how Chen feels and what does it have to do with her? Interestingly, since you suspect me of lying, it proves that you have evidence of my lying, but now you let me prove myself, isn't it ridiculous? May I ask, where is your evidence? Chen couldn't help but chuckle. Right or wrong was all in her mouth, without any logic or evidence, daring to slander others. Such a person is no different from a sprayer. With just one click, invincible in the world. Douluo frowned lightly and realized that Chen didn't seem easy to provoke. Isn't it necessary to have evidence to suspect? Isn't it true that inference cannot be made without evidence? If you truly have innate soul power, why don't you dare to display your martial soul? Is it because you are feeling guilty? Chen turned his body completely and faced Douluo, facing those seemingly aloof and contemptuous eyes. He said calmly, I suspect you're not a woman now. So, how can you prove that you're a woman? Qin Yu originally intended to speak up and stop Douluo, but unexpectedly, Chen was also a difficult subject to deal with, having dealings with her and confronting her head-on. At this moment, upon hearing Chen question, the whole person couldn't help but be stunned and instinctively looked at Douluo. Her long hair was tied in a ponytail, her forehead was smooth and covered in bangs, her melon seed face was quite standard, her cherry small mouth and willow leaf eyebrows were considered beautiful embryos, and her narrow eyes showed a hint of malice. Going further down, the newly formed hills, with their small and plump waist, do indeed have feminine characteristics. But how can we prove that Douluo is a woman? Qin Yu couldn't help but ask, how can she prove herself to be a woman? The answer seems simple yet complex. Duku's reaction was no different from Qin Yu's. After careful consideration, she finally realized and said shyly, I'm just a woman. Why should I prove it to you? I was deceived. Chenemo smiled lightly and said, then I am already born with full soul power, why should I prove it to you? Duku's expression was frozen, her small mouth slightly opened, and she couldn't refute a word. Qin Yu was taken aback for a moment, then covered her mouth and chuckled lightly, I didn't expect to see you eating flat one day. Qin Yu also disliked Duku for going against her everywhere, but she also understood that he was not bad-tempered, but had developed a habit of being coquettish and arrogant since childhood. Normally, a mouth can offend people a lot, but I don't want to be suppressed by Chenemo. You're so troublesome. Duku regained consciousness and said forcefully. Chenemo sneered and turned to ask, may I ask if I can leave now? Qin Yu nodded and said, registration is completed. You can go to the next testing point now. Chenemo nodded and stood up to leave. Duku suddenly blocked the way and said, you can't leave. You can't leave until you speak clearly. Qin Yu quickly grabbed Duku and said, what are you doing? Do you have to make a big fuss to be willing? Are you not afraid of being punished by the teacher? Duku looked coldly at Chenemo and said, unless he apologizes to me, he can't go anywhere. Are you crazy, Duke? Qin Yu, please step aside. My affairs are not yet your responsibility. Chenemo looked at Duku speechlessly and said, is it related to you that I have innate soul power? Also, what kind of apology can I offer you? Chenemo really suspects that this woman's brain is stuck in the door, it's completely inexplicable. Duku still persisted, pestering Chenemo not to let go. Qin Yu kept persuading, and more people gathered over. The scene is becoming increasingly uncontrollable. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Blue hair, blue eyes, and blue Xian. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10 Blue hair, blue eyes, and blue Xian, cough, be quiet, what's the noise? Suddenly, a sound sounded, instantly suppressing the noise. Although the sound was not loud, everyone felt it ringing in their ears. A man with 8 bearded eyes squeezed out of the crowd and arrived at the place where Chenemo and the others were entangled. And you too? I don't know where this place is. How dare you be so reckless? It's really embarrassing for our college. You all come with me. Mo Xing taught the two a lesson with a blank expression, pointing at Chenemo and Duku. After speaking, he walked ahead without saying a word. Chenemo stood in place with an indifferent expression, while Duku restrained her momentum and cautiously followed. Qin Yu saw that Chenemo was still in place and quickly reminded him quietly, hey, follow up quickly. He is a first-class teacher in our college and also works part-time as a purple-robe deacon. The crowd watching the excitement around suddenly exploded. Isn't it? Surprisingly, it alarmed an adult in purple. Hey, these two people are going to be unlucky. But they deserve it, they caused trouble on the day of recruitment. Chenemo smiled brightly and comforted Qin Yu with a worried expression, saying, senior sister, don't worry, I'm fine. Qin Yu blushed slightly and said coquettishly, who cares about you? I'm worried about my classmate Duku. Chenemo chuckled and said, senior sister, maybe in a while, I'll become your classmate too. Qin Yu thought it was funny and said, it's still early. If you practice for another 5 or 6 years, there might still be a chance. Hey, that kid, hurry up. Mo Xing shouted from a distance with a bad tone. Before enrolling in school, Chenemo didn't want to offend a first-class teacher. Instead, he wanted to see how an elder token was in his hand and how a little deacon dared to treat him. After taking a few steps, Chenemo suddenly turned around and looked at Qin Yu with a slight smile. Senior sister, how can I find you when I start school? Qin Yu was amused by Chen Mo and said, if you really have the ability, come to Class A in the 3rd grade of junior high school to find me. Okay, it's a deal. Chen Mo waved his hand and followed Mo Xing away. Du Ke looked at Qin Yu fiercely and also left. The 3 of them had just left when 2 figures suddenly appeared. Before Hu Xiuqi could catch his breath, he saw the girl in front of him and exclaimed in surprise, Qin Yu. I didn't expect you to come and work part-time. Qin Yu bowed and said, hello, Teacher Hu. When is it? You still have the mind to chat, another man next to him urged. Hu Xiuqi suddenly patted his forehead and quickly asked, by the way, Qin Yu, have you ever seen this child? A rough portrait spread out on the table, and the person depicted on the paper was none other than Chen Mo. The news that Chen Mo's martial soul quality is top-notch has already spread to the academy, causing a huge uproar. Interested teachers are eager to come out, just to take the lead in cutting off the beard. That's a top-level martial soul student, who wouldn't be tempted to become a title Douluo in the future. Although there are other top martial soul students in the college, they are ultimately students of others. As soon as Hu Xiuqi heard the news, he greeted his friend Yun Wenxuan to come over together to avoid missing a helper. Qin Yu took a few serious glances and finally confirmed that the person in the portrait was Chen Mo. She then spoke up, I've seen it before, I just registered it with you. Are you referring to the registration of innate soul power? Great, what level is that child at? Hu Xiuqi quickly asked. Qin Yu said proudly, he is born with full soul power. Congenital full soul power. Hu Xiuqi was shocked with a hint of laughter, and indeed he guessed correctly. A guy with such talent has normal full soul power. By the way, where did he go? Why didn't he see anyone? Hu Xiuqi glanced around but didn't notice Chen Mo. That. He was just called away by Teacher Moxing. Qin Yu wanted to say something nice and ask Hu Xiuqi, who is also a first-class teacher, to help. As a result, Hu Xiuqi seemed like a mouse that had been stomped on its tail, disappearing without a trace, leaving only one sentence, damn it, Mo Xing, I fought with you. Yun Wenxuan shook his head and smiled helplessly, having no way to deal with his old friend's impatient nature. Miss Qin Yu, registration here is starting normally. I'll leave first. You can continue working. After giving an explanation, Yun Wenxuan followed suit, afraid that Hu Xiuqi might have an impulse and start a fight with Mo Xing. With the departure of the last teacher, the originally quiet scene suddenly became lively, and people began to discuss what had just happened. At this moment, Chen Mo has become the center of the topic, and Ji1, who seems to know Chen Mo very well, is naturally noticed again by everyone, looking forward to his speech again. Qin Yu arranged the matters, reorganized the materials, and began to register again. However, the figure with a bright smile and witty speech occasionally drifted in her mind, unable to dissolve for a long time. After that, let's take a look at Chen Mo. I followed Mo Xing along the way to other remaining testing locations, followed a rough process, and thus ended the entire enrollment test. Du Ke had a dark face and puffed her cheeks throughout the entire journey, but she dared not complain. After all, there was a soul emperor in front of her. Mo Xing twisted his 8-pointed beard and smiled, saying, girl, you go back. I'll understand the matter between you two and write it off. Just give me face, okay? Du Ke dared not disobey and quickly said, Teacher Mo, you are serious. In fact, I have no grudge against him, just a quarrel. Don't worry, this matter ends here. Chen Mo looked at Du Ke with displeasure and said, your disrespectful remarks and slander towards me have not been counted yet. Let's just leave it at what you say. So what do you want? Apologize. It's impossible. Even if you beat me up and beat me half to death, I can't apologize to you. The two of them were not convinced of each other, their big and small eyes wide open, and the scene once again became deadlocked. Mo Xing's hand, twirling his 8-pointed beard, suddenly tightened, his gaze alert as he looked back. Mo Xing, the old thief, you have been deceiving others too much. Do you dare to fight me? Hu Xiuqi's voice came from a long distance, startling a flock of birds and landing in front of him in the blink of an eye, glaring angrily. Old Hu, that's not right. When did I bully you and humiliate you? Mo Xing stood silently in front of Chen Mo, covering Hu Xiuqi's gaze. Hey, Lao Hu, please speak up and don't take any action, Yun Wenxuan chased after him and advised him. Is that child Chen Mo? Hu Xiuqi didn't pay any attention and asked, staring closely at Chen Mo. Moxing chuckled and said, since we all recognize each other, why bother asking this question again? Hu Xiuqi took a step forward, his body approaching Mo Xing, and his eyes shining with a cold light. It's been a long time since I've practiced, I don't know how much you've improved. How about? Give it a try. Mo Xing was completely fearless and took a step forward, saying, did you really think that I was afraid of you? If it weren't for Chen Mo clearly seeing Mo Xing's slightly trembling right hand, he might have truly believed it. 2. Teachers, there's no need to take action, is there? No need to persuade, this matter has nothing to do with you, just look at it. Yes, that's right. It's also good for you to see our strength. Isn't it just 2 soul emperors? I have even seen the title Douluo before. Well, it's very clear that. Chen Mo murmured in his heart. The 2 eyes collided in the air, sparking bursts of anger as they reached a critical point. Suddenly, a chill suddenly rose in the sky and earth, and their anger instantly extinguished. Yun Wenxuan, who had always been calm and composed, changed his expression and couldn't help but say, with such a deep chill in his heart, it must be. She has come. Mo Xing and Hu Xiuqi immediately separated and stood on either side, looking towards the distance with some urgency. I saw ice-capped snow lotus appearing out of thin air in the sky, shining brightly. A beautiful figure dressed in a light blue long skirt, step by step blooming lotus, walked down. Fortunately, this place is rarely visited, otherwise just a chill would be enough to make newly enrolled students fall ill in bed. On the teacher's order, take him back. Lan Xian nodded slightly to the 3 teachers and continued. Mo Xing looked at Hu Xiuqi unwillingly, hoping that he would act recklessly and make things worse, perhaps there was still a glimmer of hope. Hu Xiuqi, however, had no thoughts at all. When he saw the woman with a reputation full of teachers personally come, he knew that there was no possibility of any accidents. In recent decades, Lan Xian has been the youngest first-class teacher in the history of the college. Even rumors suggest that if it weren't for the age limit, her abilities would be enough to serve as a top teacher. Since that's the case, then I won't argue anymore. I'll go back first, everyone. Goodbye. Hu Xiuqi and Yun Wenxuan bid farewell and left together. Mo Xing didn't want to stay alone to face the Ice Mountain beauty and hurriedly slipped away, leaving only Chen Mo staring straight at the blue skirt beauty without blinking. Lan Xian's eyebrows furrowed lightly, as if she didn't like such a hot gaze. However, considering that Chen Mo was still a child, she didn't make any fuss and her voice was cold. Come with me. Turning around and walking ahead, the blue long skirt swayed gently. Chen Mo was truly amazed by the woman in front of him, exuding a classical beauty's demeanor. He wore a light blue long skirt that swept the floor, with soft blue waves that reached his waist. His deep blue eyes were like the deep sea, and once touched, it was difficult to extricate himself. Iceberg and snow lotus can be viewed from afar but not within reach. Whether in terms of temperament or appearance, Lan Xian is definitely among the top women Chen Mo has met. End of this chapter.